Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
He haven't got it! He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's still such trouble. He's not a second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's gonna do it! Big Barry!
Hello and welcome back to the VWSC here on JPB Broadcasting, or JP Broadcasting as most people call it. My name is Edward Hunter. I'm joined by a wonderful broadcast director, Paul Glover, for the fourth round of the championship, which takes place here at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium, here on this lovely mid-May evening where there is rain predicted, so that will be definitely throwing a little bit of a spanner in the works for our two Hypercar classes and our two GT3 classes as well. So yeah, plenty of interesting things to talk about. We have got Ross Smith, who's going to be along very, very shortly. I'm unfortunately going to have to nip off midway through this introduction to go eat dinner and hopefully get back before the race starts, because I wasn't really supposed to be doing this today. But anyway, here I am. I guess it's better than having nobody, isn't it, Paul? So anyway. Okay, right. So apparently Paul's mics isn't working. So I can hear him, but I don't know if anybody else can hear him. And also Video Ninja has gone down, so I can't actually see anything that's happening on track. So hopefully you guys are
sorry about that. Yeah, they now can hear me. Hello everybody. Sorry, I've just realised that I made a bit of a foobar when it came to start of the stream, so I'm just fixing that now. Apologies everybody.
Okay, right. I assume they're just seeing absolute chaos.
They're seeing a stream. They're just, you know, I had to take your stream down, unfortunately, but it'll be with you momentarily.
That's fine. I didn't want to watch the race anyway.
There you go. You should be back.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, well now I have to watch the race. Great. Here we are. We're back. No worries, ladies and gentlemen, at Spa-Francorchamps. So our four championships, as we said, in the main Champion Motorsports VWSC series. I keep calling it VSWC, but it is VWSC. Most definitely. I guess Lord knows what any of those four letters stand for, but of course our Hypercar standings, we might be a good opportunity to go through. As you can see there, fourth round of the championship. We've got Le Mans test, followed by the full 4.8 hours of Circuit de Soif on the 6th of June coming up, and then our remaining rounds at Watkins Glen, Interlagos, Road America, Circuit of the Americas, Fuji, Road Atlanta, Qatar, and Bahrain, the 2 hours, sealing out the season in November. So we are still fairly early on in this championship, and now might be a good opportunity to briefly gaze upon the championship standings in Hypercar. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yeah,
right,
so I'm having a couple of technical issues, so I'm just working on those now.
All right, sure thing. Well, Paul is working on his technical issues. Let's have a look at the Hypercar standings. As you can see, Ben Kesby leading for British Turkish Racing in the Ferrari 499P ahead of Tom Lane, 10 points behind him. Magnus Dahlgren, who'll be very familiar to, as he's also competes in the, or was competing in the 985 Sportscar series, sister series to this championship. He is another 61 points in arrears on 37 points for SKS Motorsports. Johnny Gutierrez is 4th, Timon Suvic is 5th, Troy Uyen is 6th, Ige Karabakak is 7th, whose name I've almost certainly butchered there. Apologies to Ege. Bradley Sellers is 8th for Rookie Monsters. Becky Ely Clark is 9th for Malpractice Motorsports. Nice name there. Riley Koenig is 10th. And then completing our 21 hypercar field in this class, we've got Michael Locke, Walter de Bruyne, Luciano Ichazo, Ryan Paulbert Reyes, Alan Smith, Oliver Day, Brian Hall, Ben Boorman, Jules Lalonde, Axel Laflamme, and Hubert van Gashoven. In the teams table, British Turkish Racing Ferrari unsurprisingly lead on 62 points ahead of SKS Motorsport, Bad Day Racing, Team Rookie Monsters in the BMW, Malpractice Motorsports, and Craven Racing. In our hypercar amateur standings, George Angelidis, the Greek driver, leads for Meyer Shank Racing, ahead of Jerry Chen, who's 9 points behind him. John Mayer, who's just another 8 points behind in the Crazy Squirrels Racing Cadillac. Stefan Brees is 4th for Trash Panda Racing. Then his family member Matthew Brees is right behind in 5th. Vinicius Goncalves is 6th. Eric Moyne is 7th. Zachary Trevu is 8th. Mike Boyce, another of the Boyces. What's with these guys? In
Bice.
9th.
Yeah, Bice.
Bice, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that bices us some time as Norm Gaff rounds out the top 10 from Dean Clark. We've also got in the teams table a narrow lead for Meyer Shank Racing ahead of Ikuri Mistral, then Trash Panda and Crazy Squirrels bring up the rear of our 4 Hypercar AM teams. GT3 in the pro standings, Daniel Kirby leads JT Tammy by 9 points. Will Snowden for Boyd Transport is 3rd in a Mercedes AMG and 24 points down on Tammy. Then we've got Alan Holden, David Yunt, John Owen, Simon Kingsbury, Senna Stoffmeal, Alexander Schultz, Alexander Macquarie, Daniel Forlier, and Brian Van Buzicom rounding out our top 12. CMS Pro Porsche lead by 50 points in the teams table from Boyd Transport, Luxury Lexus Racing, SF Motorsport, and Initial 3 Racing GT. Finally, GT3 AM, Vasilis Katarinakis is leading on 15 points ahead of Maximilian Petravki. Daryl Kruger is 3rd, Stefan Miller 4th, Peter Meyer 5th, Stuart Barge 6th, Matthew Overton 7th, Christian Dowger 8th. Pinnacle Racing Team lead Dark Thunder Racing by 43 points in the LMGT3 AM teams table. So that completes the standings, and I believe joining us just now should be Ross Smith. Ross, hello. Welcome to Spa. How are you feeling?
Good afternoon, Ed. I'm doing great, thanks. I'm looking forward to the race. How's everything going up here in the booth?
Well, it's a bit chaotic. I wasn't really supposed to be here today, so I've been dropped in at the deep end and trying to figure out what on earth I'm doing and what I've been put into. So, yeah, it's all going peachy.
Yeah, it's looking good so far. I mean, it's certainly today's race. You know, a lot of sports car fans are going to be very familiar with Spa. This is running the prior layout to when they kind of made some of the changes up around Speaker's Corner and, of course, Eau Rouge at the or at the top of Radion, I should say. But it's still very much reminiscent of what Spa offers, just in terms of overall layout. And certainly, as you went through some of the cars for today, it's going to be a really exciting race, and it's going to be something where drivers have to really pay attention to resources. And I'm going to think it's going to be tires that they're going to have to hold on to the most in terms of just making sure that they don't use up the car. But either way, you know, it's going to be a great race. There was some weather in the area. It looks like it might be shifting towards some sunny weather at the moment. I've been hearing some murmurings in the background about what's kind of going on in the background. Of course, being around the mountains, you just never really know for sure what's going to happen. So eyes to the sky. We'll see what happens here.
Indeed, the Ardennes Forest do tend to pack a few surprises, and I think I might agree with you in terms of tyres, because it is a very, very fast track Spa, particularly that flat-out section from Paul Frere through to Blanchimont, and, of course, Les Sources all the way through to the end of the Camel Straight into Les Combes, both of which I think will be prime overtaking opportunities potentially, or, well, certainly we're going to see the hypercars lap the GT3s, and that could be chaotic as well. I also think this is quite a tough one on fuel sometimes, particularly for some of the classes lower down. So if the GT3s, they're relying on being lapped to make it to the end of the race, that could be interesting near the end. But anyway, Ross, anything else we need to keep an eye on in terms of any of our championships?
Yeah, well, there have been a few switches and changes as we're going through. Obviously, still early on in the season. We're just this race away from going to Le Mans, which is very much the highlight for a lot of drivers here. It's going to be a large points race with VWSC being something where the points are weighted just like in the real WEC. So the longer the race format, the more points are at risk. So you obviously want to just maximize everything that you're doing in those bigger races, but not to say that these shorter ones, where we're running at 90, 100 minutes, aren't unimportant or aren't important because they still add to the championship. So and right now, I mean, there's a lot going on within the hypercar battles, which is great to see. Over in GT3s or at the pro side of the thing, we've got some of our heavyweights up there with Daniel Kirby kind of leading the way, but he's not exactly running away with it. He's still got a lot of pressure from those around him, and you kind of we're poking at some of the considerations for today. That closing speed is definitely going to be something that drivers need to pay attention to, and it's not going to be too much of an issue at first, but I'd say probably by about I don't want to say 6 to 8 laps in, that's when they're going to be coming back around and lapping the GT3 field. And the closing speeds, if you are, say, on any one of the longer straights, heading up towards Blanchimont or like where you have so much speed, and then you suddenly have to make a very quick decision as a hypercar driver, then you gotta make sure that you're doing what's right for both parties involved. If there's a GT3 right at that kink, you got to make sure that you're giving them room, not just trying to throw it up the inside or around the outside, because that's only going to lead to trouble. So drivers have to keep that in mind as they're going through today.
Indeed, they will. I mean, it's ever present at most circuits, but yeah, Spa in particular has a lot of pinch points where space can be particularly going down into Eau Rouge and Raidillon, as you say. That is a moment where you really, it's risky to make an overtake there, and even more so if you come up to a couple of GT3s battling and you're a hypercar, or in a hypercar rather. but yeah, there we go. You can see on screen as well the stint lengths for the GT3s and the hypercars, where the GTs can get to the end probably on 2 stops, the hypercars on 3 to 4 stops. But of course, that's assuming that it doesn't rain. As Ross said, that's something that's going to probably change throughout the event. It'll get more and less likely to rain, as it tends to be so unpredictable here at Spa in the middle of Belgium then. So yeah, the pit stops will be crucial, but also keeping your nose clean out there even more so.
Yeah, looking forward to see what they're able to do. I heard a couple drivers, they were struggling a bit as you're kind of in that intermediate phase between where you would need to switch over to wets. And as we know, with the track being so high speed around some of these spots where you really have to lean on the tires, it's going to be one of those kinds of situations where you can quickly find the drivers who have it and who don't, because the ones who don't are going to be off in the barriers. There's just no two ways about it. They just won't be able to hold on. So setting your car up for a situation like that is always something that brings drivers and I guess engineers a lot of anxiety, because you obviously don't want to do something that's going to compromise it in the dry. But if you don't do something, you could potentially just be throwing your race completely away.
It's tricky conditions, isn't it, Ross? What do drive? What kind of setup do they opt towards? They go for the safer side of things, or do they expect it to, they listen to the weatherman or the weather person and decide, you know what, I'll go for a dry setup?
I hope everybody heard Paul there. Good. Yeah, it's definitely a very it's like I said, it's anxiety producing, because you just never you want to lean towards the dry whenever you can, and certainly with the conditions that it looks like it's going to be for today's race, with the rain tapering off over the next couple hours in the whole area of Spa-Francorchamps, they probably are going to make sure that they are doing a dry setup. But you just want to make sure that you've got your hand on that brake bias button, throw it back if it does start to get a little bit slick out there, just hoping that maybe this is a little spritz from some mountain clouds and nothing more than that. And just hang on for the ride, slow down, back your braking points up, and try not to lose too much time. Because the one thing you don't want to do is panic and rush into the pits and change out for wets, because At being a shorter race, you can't afford to make that kind of mistake and just throw a strategy completely away. I mean, you could make the argument that you don't also want to just throw the car away and smash it into a wall or anything like that, but it's something that's going to make each driver really think carefully about what they're going to be doing as they're battling it out at 200 miles an hour through each one of these turns.
It's funny you should mention that because my mind went back to the 1981 at Riverside, where I can't remember who the driver was, but the rain started to come down. Most drivers sort of sucked it up and thought, it's gonna move on. But those who decided to pit really lost out in that race. And sometimes it's about holding your nerve, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I can tell you I've been in that situation a number of times, and I tend to be one who leans towards trying to hold out, and some of that goes alongside trying to keep an eye on what the weather's supposed to be doing. And unfortunately, there aren't many of us who might have a radar sitting off screen, although there are a few who do. I don't want to discount those who are excessively prepared, I guess you could say. But you're just kind of going off of your gut of what you think should be happening based off of what you're seeing. And it can go either way. I mean, sometimes you can end up looking like a hero, and then other times you just look like an idiot because, it could just be one lap. That's all the difference it could make, is just maybe holding on for one lap or coming in one lap too early. And, that can just be the entire race right there.
Yeah, I'm noticing. I mean, apologies, I wasn't here for the previous round, but I'm noticing some new names on the leaderboard as qualifying is underway. We've just got over a minute of that to go, and that'll be followed by a warm-up session with the driver briefing taking place. Alex La Flame, I don't know that one. I probably absolutely butchered that. And then you've got another Mika. Or Micah, currently in P9 in the hypercar. So it's good to see some new drivers joining the field.
Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the other Mika Leuvink, is actually Axel Laflamme's teammate. So
Right.
they're new this year coming in on the Aston Martins. So Axel had shown up for the Imola race, and unfortunately there's a little bit of confusion over the race start. Because there was an issue. One of the drivers back in the field, he ended up coming in later and starting from the pits. But what they were doing was, I had actually assumed, I'd missed this during the racing brief, excuse me, but they're actually supposed to be triggered off of when the leaders cross the start-finish line. So then at that point, all drivers can go. But in this case, this delayed driver who is going to be at the back of the field ended up being the first driver, and so when he was released from the pits just in front of the field, it prematurely triggered the start of the race. So Laflamme ended up being kind of sucked into the field, and from there he just unfortunately got kind of caught up in a lot of other things going on in the race. But I don't think that same thing is going to happen today. He's definitely shown he's got pace. And I'm excited to see how he works out, how also the other Kevin Galat, I'm not sure where the emphasis goes there, but coming in with the Genesis, which is new for this year. It's great to see that he's putting that to work. And all three of them, they're right there together. So in terms of some of their practice times, I'm really excited to see how they end up kind of locking horns in this early stint just to see what's going on.
Yeah, so and you've got the usuals still here, like Jerry Chen and Vinicius Concalves and the Bice guys and Magnus Dahlgren, Timon Subic. So yeah, good to see some new guys kind of joining the foray. Like you say, that good to see the Genesis out there as well, and you definitely can't miss that livery that he's running. So. Yeah, in the darkness of the weather, I think we need some bright colours. So it's clear that I'm looking at the track. There is a dry line. It's looking still a little bit damp in places. So that might make the start of the race interesting, because if you go offline, Ross, it's not going to be fun.
No, No, you're absolutely right, Paul. I mean, there are definitely a few spots where you can run side by side, but as Ed was saying, or maybe I can't even remember if it was you or not, but lots of pinch points around here. Eau Rouge is going to be the most infamous of all of them. You don't want to be running through there side by side if you can help it. Some of the better drivers can pull it off. I would not be risking it myself. I'm not one who's that confident to be able to do it. But he wants you to get out of the way, but it all plays into just sort of the overall dynamic of the race. If you've been harassing a lot of the GT3 traffic, and now you're suddenly up there going for a podium, if you're coming along like a 911 or something that you've just been bullying at every corner of the race, then they might just have had enough of you and just get in your way, just not make it easy for you, and that can end up ruining your race. So I don't think that's something that happens tremendously often, but it's definitely a factor in these races, and it's one that I think is a very interesting and entertaining part of multi-class sports car racing.
Yeah. Just to technical. I'm having some technical gremlins. One of my PCs just dropped away from the event, and also I lost you momentarily, Ross. I don't know if I'm having some kind of network or internet issues, and it looks like the stream might have had an issue as well. So apologies to those that are watching. I might have some gremlins. We'll see how we go. Technology sometimes can be a pain in the backside, as we all know. We love technology, but sometimes it can also be a pain. Just wanted to just to acknowledge that I just had a bit of a hiccup. So one of the machines stayed online, so I don't understand what the difference is. But warm up has now begun, the drivers will be having their briefing. You're an experienced man, Ross. What kind of things is George going to be saying in the briefing to these? Especially, I think it's probably important to, like we touched on, you've got some newbies. They probably need to make sure they've got their ears open and pay attention.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's going to be going through the race start procedure, some of the other elements of the race to be looking out for. I think number one is going to be what's happening on pit road, because the R Factor 2, the Studio 397 version of the track, has both the 24-hour endurance pit road, which is the one that wraps all the way around La Source. We're going to be using that one just because it's very tight on there, and otherwise, if we didn't, then everyone would be double stacking. And there's procedure for dealing with that, but you don't want to have to deal with that if you don't have to. So we've opened it up. Pit road speed is 120k, which is quite a bit faster, especially as you go towards that hairpin. Drivers are going to be extra aware of how fast they're going right into that, because it's a 180-degree corner. I mean, you almost can't even make it in these cars. You're just turning the wheels hard as you can to get around it. So they've got to be careful. They've got to watch out for drivers right next to them. It's a very tight pit road. So that's going to be one of the biggest things. And then probably like what we talked about, the closing rates going down a lot of these straights, George reminding drivers, be careful, don't go for unnecessary moves, just play it safe, back it off. You can pass GT3 cars or slower traffic as you come out of the corners. There's no need to just be throwing a race away or incurring an IRR that's going to end up just hurting this race, because we've changed it over. No longer will IRRs be applied to the next race unless you DNF. If you DNF, then you have to, serve your time elsewhere. But anything that you do during this race, if it would be a drive-through penalty, let's say, or, stop and go, that will be converted to time and then added to your race time. So that's something that drivers need to think about. They can no longer just be battling it out and kind of go for a cheeky door smash or something like that, like a little bump and run, and then win the race and then take their medicine at the next one and try and, convert that into advantage later. You will be penalized here, as it is in real life. So these are all things that they're going to be looking out for. Drivers are going to be checking their setups and everything as they're kind of sitting there waiting. And speaking of, I've noticed that Cavan has actually got a hard medium mix on his Genesis. So I'm interested to see if that's something that can end up working out for him. He must be working the front end of that car extra hard to where it's just wearing it down. Nobody else is doing that.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, the split strategy thing is always quite an interesting thing, and like I say, the track in place, it's definitely looking drier. The start finish line is dry. It looks dry up until you get to the start finish line itself, and then it goes back down to single file at the moment. So, but if there's no more rain, that should clear up pretty quickly. You just touched on penalties, and I think it's something we've kind of overlooked. So Robin Molin had a not qualify from Imola. I don't know if he's here. I haven't had a look to see if he's down the list. He's not. Doesn't look like he is. But there's also Gilles Lalonde has a drive-through from Sebring. So he's here. So he'll have to serve that. And then Axel, as we touched on, had a stern warning for avoidable contact for not accelerating as required of the pole sitter, which I think you briefly mentioned a few minutes ago. So, driver briefing I think must be over. I'm hearing a few people going on track and moving around. So I'm happy to report that Ed is back he had to step away briefly. So Ed, I'll bring you back into the booth and I can stop talking, which is always a delight for everybody who has a listen.
I think you're too harsh on yourself there, Paul, but I can imagine if James was here, he might agree with you, but he isn't, so I can be nice and not fear retribution. But anyway, so qualifying done. Race still to come then, and or how long is it? It's like 90 minutes, isn't it usually?
If 90, yeah, for this
90,
one.
there we go. So I think Le Mans is 4.8 hours, isn't it? So at least I don't have to do that on my own. But yeah, 90 minutes. I think I could just about manage that. So yeah, it'll be fascinating.
Not bad. You'd be fine.
I never said it would be bad. It's just there'll be a lot on my mind. Are you gonna be joining us for the whole race, or else are you competing in this one?
I will be in the booth for pretty much all the VWSC, the modern races throughout the season.
Oh, cool, because I'm used to the old school one where you take part as well. You only get to hear from you at the end in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm mostly just dedicated to the historics this year. So yeah, I'll be hopefully jumping into the booth for just the pre-race for those, and then competing and hopefully seeing everybody at the end, because I've won, but
but it's so you got more time to sort the cameras out on the modern cars, right?
That's a big part. Well, not just the moderns, but working across all of them. Actually, I'm wrapping up the last of the last year's historics, the 1985 series, so those can be released to the workshop under the Storm Gang Simulation banner. So very excited to get that all done. We actually have a few different cars, versions of the cars that we didn't get to include during the regular season where we were testing them. So like the IMSA actually has two versions. There's one with the double headlights that ran at Le Mans, where Nigel Mansell was in there, and they actually managed to lead despite their underdog effort, and then nobody heard from them again. So it was great. But yeah, looking forward to getting that done, so that way I can just focus strictly on getting the first pack of the moderns done, which includes many of the cars that you're going to see here today, barring some of the ones that are new for 2026. And that will be the WSC 2023 mod. It's going to have lots of the GT3s, lots of the hypercars that came out. You'll get to see like some of the ones that we haven't had for a while, like the Acura NSX, the Mark II, which is a special from Down Under, and that's going to be making a reappearance thanks to the wonderful work from Matt Kelly. He did some great 3D, so it'll be wonderful to finally get that out there in everybody's hands so they can really enjoy all of the work that we put into this.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, just because the car may not necessarily be the one of choice in real life doesn't necessarily mean it will follow that way in sim racing as well. I'm being informed that Calvin Galhut's using a mixed set of tires on his Genesis at the start here, so that should be interesting. Of course, particularly for those who are not changing tires at the first stop, that could be a really interesting strategy. Where do you think that they'll be mixing his hards and mediums, Russ?
Well, it's interesting that he has them on there right now, because I just took a peek at the temperatures, and the air temp is actually only 7. It's very cool over up in the mountains right now. So for him to be running on hards, and maybe it's just a carryover, maybe he's just trying a strategy. That seems a little bit much. I mean, even George Angelidis, who really uses the front end of the car, so much so that it's almost like he's turned it into a front wheel drive car. They just completely blow them out. I mean, if he could run on one axle alone, he'd probably pick the front, because he's like, just throw the rear tires out. I don't even use them. But even he's running full mediums all the way around. So I'm wondering, maybe that's something that Kevin is just trying out. Maybe it was just to see, like, his setup is set so that way he's really pushing those fronts. I don't know, but I guess we'll see, because we're just about ready to head to the start.
I think it's Kevin. You're right. I called him Kevin, so I apologize for that.
I'm sure he gets it a bit.
There we go. But the Genesis, which sounds more like a Segway, the way you're describing it, the way Kevin likes to drive it, than a hypercar with only one axle. But there we go. Let's see if from third on the grid, if he can make a big difference here. As we see, there we go. Oh, looking a little bit more grey of the skies than expected then. As you can see them going down the endurance pit lane, which of course uses all the way the run down towards Eau Rouge, rather than just the Grand Prix pit lane you might see in Formula 1 at the other side. And of course there's that long circuitous route that they take to rejoin the track just before the Kemmel Straight. There's one of our Cadillacs just going down the track. Of course, the highest qualifier of the Cadillacs, I think, is Johnny Gutierrez in 8th on the grid, of course. So it'll be interesting to see if the American manufacturer is the one of choice or not. Certainly the Hypercar AMS, there's a few more Cadillacs a little bit lower down. Gilles Lalonde and Dean Clark, I think, also at the wheel of the number 2 and the 31 as well. So that will be interesting. Meanwhile, GD3, it's mainly the 911 GD3s, or the 992s, I should say, that are locking out the top 4 from what I'm seeing at the moment. So I think we're expecting the Porsche should be the car of choice, but as we've seen before, Porsche often likes to do Porsche things, so we'll have to see if there's any chaos in the first couple of laps lower down the order.
Yeah, they've definitely proven to be a driver's favorite. When they were first introduced a couple years ago, before this Evo version, it was definitely a very difficult car to run. It was beautiful for the first 5 laps or so, but exactly like you said, it just became very unruly as the tires would heat up, as the weight balance would start to shift, and the back end just wanted to take the lead. So there's been a little bit of work on the car, just kind of like in real life. It was a little bit underpowered when it was originally released, and it's kind of been brought up to speed. And of course, with the likes of talent like Daniel Kirby, John Ulian, you know, they're really great with their setups, and of course their racecraft and their driver skills. So they've really been able to show that when you've got a good setup and you're really linked up with the car, it can just fly. So they're going to definitely put it to the rest of the field. We'll see if the likes of JT Tammy, if Vasilis Katernakis down there in AM, if he's able to kind of keep things up with the Mustang. I know that one's also gotten a bit of a buff, so it can kind of compensate for a bit of that front tire wear that it has to struggle with.
It's interesting comparing this to the other sims like Le Mans Ultimate, where the Porsche tends not to be the car of choice. It tends to be like your Mustangs, your Ferraris, your Lamborghinis as well, that tend to be the GT3 front runners. But yeah, of course, plenty of Aston Martin Valkyries. We just saw Axel Laflamme circulating in this warm-up session then, as everybody's sort of waiting for things to get going, essentially. 7 minutes to fill. And the likes of Michael Luving, Axel Laflamme, you might be familiar with in open-wheel single-seater championships like GP VWSC, where they're also competing in the bottom end of that ladder, and have been very competitive as well, living consistently fighting for podiums in particular. Although, of course, in the Valkyrie, very different set of skills here, with the length of the race, with the weight of the car for one thing, and with the V12 engine at the back particularly, and the having to manage your fuel and tyres over a much longer distance than a sort of sprint race. This will test him to his absolute limits, and indeed the rest of the field as well then. As you said, was saying right at the top of the show, Ross, for a lot of drivers this is seen as a little bit of a warm-up for what they can expect at Le Mans in about a month's time.
Yeah, exactly right, Ed. And it's good to, very important to note that this is the final race where drivers are going to be able to actually not necessarily qualify, but be eligible to race at Le Mans on their own. You have to at least have one race within the season to sort of get your ticket to be able to participate there, which doesn't preclude you necessarily. If you still wanted to come in and race with another driver to do swaps, it's the only race in the season where we actually do that. That's why the length was extended from 2.4 to 4.8, so drivers could do that. If you are on a racing team, you have to race with the rest of your teammates. So if you've got a 3-driver team, because you're trying to maximize your points potential across the season, it hinders you just a little bit, because now all 3 of you have to share the same car. So that obviously leads to a greater chance of technical difficulties, the possibility of a single setup not working for all drivers, so it kind of compromises your speed. So it's sort of like that little linchpin of a race throughout the season, and it's obviously the one that drivers want to go to the most. It is the big one. It's the big show at Le Mans. So yeah, exactly like you're saying, this is sort of a warm-up. It's where drivers get that last kind of stint in, where they're getting to feel out the car, any of the changes that have been brought forth with any of the BOP updates. This is it. You got to get in here and make it happen now, or you get to watch that race from the sidelines.
Yeah, not necessarily a fatal blow having to swap drivers, because even in a 4.8-hour event, you do get a little bit of fatigue. If you're one driver trying to do that entire nearly 5-hour distance, by the end you are going to be absolutely shattered. So yeah. I think most teams would ideally like to have at least one driver change in there somewhere. So but yeah, you will definitely see 1 or 2 teams that will just have drivers in there, because it's easily doable as long as you stay hydrated and you don't end up in hospital for pushing yourself too hard, as has happened occasionally in some endurance races I've watched, but not very often.
And gone to the bathroom beforehand.
Of course. Well, and also get your meals in somehow, unless you're on an IV drip during the race, which is not advisable, because things have gone very wrong if we get to that point. As we see just a rush out the pits in this warm-up as Kevin Galut hops the Genesis over the curbs at Les Combes, and particularly if the weather changes in the middle of the race, I have a feeling that could be quite a familiar sight, everybody just deciding to miss the chicane entirely.
But I would say, though, it looks like the rain is leaving the area, so it's moving away from track. But as they go round here, it's clear that there are still some wet, or not wet, but damp patches. So I think as the race gets in a few laps, we'll see those disappear as they clear the remaining water that's still left behind.
Let's see if that plays out, Paul. Certainly a good shout, as we see Angelides trying to get the Acura through the Vanier chicane. Oh, and the rear just stepping out there, so cold tyres. The rear's just spinning, struggling for grip, and it definitely looks like everybody crawling around and sort of trying to get a feel for what sort of condition this track is going to be in at the start of this race, and they are kind of tiptoeing around. Nobody really wants to trip over each other and cause a bit of a mess before the race even starts.
Yeah, and Ed, I was just taking a peek here. The track is only 15 degrees, so it's very cool right now. Ooh, boy. We're watching drivers just getting used to what they can do there at Launchmont. So you're absolutely right. The cold tires are going to be a factor. You really need to get a good full lap in before you start doing that and crashing in on pit road entry. You want to make sure that your tires are up to temp. You're just putting so much load, especially through that entrance sequence right there at the after the Source heading down towards Eau Rouge. You want to have a lot of confidence under your car. This is the previous setup of Eau Rouge, where it was a little bit tighter, and you just had to make sure you nailed that entrance in and have confidence and power on the exit, or else that thing will go right around, or at the very least you'll probably go wide or run short and get a track cut. And drivers with 90 minutes today, you cannot afford to have to go through the pit lane and serve a penalty.
Yeah, that could well be the difference between finishing on the podium and maybe even finishing outside the points. Then, as we are switching over to the race server, everything popping in and sorting itself out, which is definitely a good sign then, as the track reminds itself what condition it's supposed to be in, and so too does the sky. So, the wonders of our Vector 2 there, ladies and gentlemen. But, yeah, this will be exciting then, the start here, because our qualifying order should be about to reassert itself, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just have a quick look at what the qualifying results were. In fact, I can't, so I'll just go back to the live and see what the grid is. But is it... All right, well, we will get a look at it in a few short moments' time then. But yeah, certainly this first lap, Ross, this is all going to be about staying out of trouble, particularly into the tighter corners like La Source, of course. But will it be sort of a half formation lap, or will they get going fairly quickly here?
It'll be a full formation, so they'll go out and they'll run all the way around.
Sounds
So
about
you'll get
right.
a
I
good
remember
chance.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the start is going to be a little bit more exciting because when they do make their way around, it is as soon as the lead drivers take that start-finish line, it's game on for everyone else behind them.
Yep, so it looks like the field being led away. Now might be a good opportunity to breeze through the grid. All 37 drivers that are taking part today. It should be, I believe, Tom Lane in the 499P that is on pole position. In fact, it's saying Michael Luvink is on pole. So I think Lane has been given that position somewhat preemptively here. So Axel Laflamme should start third. Kevin Galout will start P4 with George Angelidis, I believe, in P5. And then we have Michael Locke, P6 in the Ferrari 499P. Walter de Bruyne should be P7. No, it's saying Ryan Paulbert Reyes P7, Walter de Bruyne P8, Magnus Dorgreen P9. And then rounding out top 10, we got Johnny Gutierrez, Ben Boerman, Timon Suvic, Alan Smith, Zachary Chavot. We're now getting into the AMS here. Vinicius Goncalves, Jerry Chen P16, Oliver Day should be P17, Gilles Lalonde is showing P18, I believe. I'm getting very confused here. It's saying Matthew Boyce is P18 behind Oliver Day in P17, Gilles Lalonde P19, Dean Clark P20, Mike Boyce P21, Hubert van Gasshoven P22, and our final hypercar, Steven Boos, is P23. Bice, okay. Daniel Kirby will start on pole position in GD3s ahead of Riley Koenig. Troy Uyen will start P3. Then it will be John Uyen in P4 in class. P5 in class will be JT Tammy. Hallam Voice will be P6 in class. Brian Van Busikom, P6. P7, first of the AM GD3s, Matthew Overton. Then it will be Alan Holden and William Snowden, Stephen Miller, Stuart Barge, Vasilis Katarinakis, and Daniel Kruger, P37. Okay. I think I was trying to get through just seeing who was actually on the grid rather than necessarily results screens there because it was confusing the hell out of me. But
no, you did all right. It looked like it might have just been a glitch for when it was grabbing the positions, but you called it right. So we're.
It is Tom Lane on pole, importantly, in that black and purple machine. You can see the number 50 there. But Luvink, of course, in the Valkyrie, along with Axel Laflamme, will be keen to make ground here. So Lane, who's been so successful in the past here in VWSC, will have to have his wits about him. The changeable conditions definitely suit Tom Lane, so these early low grip, low track temperatures should suit him fine, as we see the row of 4 identical Porsches in the top 4 there that are going to lead the Pro GD3 start.
Yeah, and they're 2 separate teams, but they're all basically
Beautiful me.
So yeah, they've definitely got their engineers.
Right,
and,
which one is Troy and which one's John? Okay, I think they're both 111, so it's gonna be fun.
That would be a disaster.
Right, we'll be relying quite heavily on the timing screen for this one, as we see going through Blanchimont come Lane, Luvink, and Laflamme, with Galout, Locke, and Angelidis in tow. Then Angelidis, of course, a little bit out of position compared to the other hypercar AMs, so Chivu in 14th will be the closest threat to him in his Acura. So Angelidis sort of just needs to keep it clean in the number 93, doesn't he? While the top 4 do battle in front of him.
Yeah, it's really great positioning for him as they're coming around the last bit for that chicane. And yeah, exactly right. He's got to keep his nose clean, stay out, and just let the chaos sort of unfold around him as he holds on. So they need to close up here, and they're taking off
green flag.
early.
There we go then, and it looks like, oh, LaFlamme trying to jump the gun there, so mass confusion among the front runners here, and Tom Lane does now finally get up to racing speeds, and nobody knew whether they're allowed to overtake before the start-finish line. Either way, LaFlamme has taken advantage, gotten up to P2 ahead of Luvink and Galout. Meanwhile, there's Daniel Kirby, much more orderly start in GT3. Kirby leading Koenig, John Oyen, and JT Tammy, who I believe is trying to get mixed in with Troy Oyen. They're going side by side at the moment. Oh dear, so there's been absolute disaster near the rear of the field then, but the Hypercars are still fighting away at the end of the Kemmel Straight. It's Luvink trying to get back in front of LaFlamme, and the number 57, I think, just falling short there. So Luvink holds on, and he did start ahead of LaFlamme. LaFlamme jumping the stars almost, but Luvink able to reassert himself, and Kevin Galout now looking to get the Genesis in play here as Angelidis has stayed out of trouble. Now holding on to P6. He has let lock through, but he's still well clear of Goncalves, who's now second place in the AMS in Hypercar.
That was a wild start. I can't wait to see what was happening back in the background, because there were a lot of cars fanning out, and the GT3s were sort of left flat-footed.
We've lost the GT3, by the way, Russ. We've lost Stuart Barge before the first lap even ended then, so there's one Ferrari 296 out of the picture already, so bad luck for Stuart Barge.
It's a shame. Matthew Overton's teammate, who's doing what he can to be able to fight in that the AM standings. They are currently in second place. The Dark Thunder really needed those points ahead of Petrafsky and Kruger, but that's going to put them a little bit on the back foot for the season. Meanwhile, here up at the front, they're still chasing down Tom Lane and the LaFlamme duo there. And it's great to see that Genesis really putting it on. Well, that car should be, because of the Eureka chassis, very conducive to this track. It should have a lot of advantages that can really press here. So we'll see how it holds on the tires. Very similar to the Acura background of George Angelidis, who also mentioned that it's going to be pretty good here. And he's sticking out in front of Ryan Paul Reyes, who's running that new livery, as he made the switch over to the Toyota TR010 for the midpoint in the season. And I'm curious to see how that all-wheel drive is going to be able to handle a lot of the cars today. There's George's rival Jerry Chen, who's running an updated livery now for the season. The sole Porsche 963 running throughout the field. Shame, because that car used to be very popular, almost like the 911s are right now, and has sort of been abandoned for the greener pastures of the Toyotas and the Ferraris.
It's always a shiny new toy, isn't there? So the poor 963 left out in the cold, as has sort of been the case in real life too, as we'd see. This is what happened on the first lap. Did Jerry Chen get into... Oh, he's up the inside, and we see somebody going very wide, and there is the contact with the BMW tagging around the Cadillac, and the Acura spinning almost into the middle of the pack there.
Yeah, that looked like it was basically just 5 into 1. We're going to go.
And then the GT3s arrive on the scene, which does not improve matters. So I think there's Chabot in the Acura there that was sort of getting mixed up in that. It looks like William Snowden has had to make an early pit stop as well, so that's bad news for the Englishman in the Mercedes-AMG EVO. He was third in the Pro Championship going into this one.
Yeah, and he's coming on a bit newer for the season and definitely showed promise early on. He was actually rivals with Kingston, I think, who's not here today. But yeah, that's definitely put him back. He should be up there fighting with those Porsches all up at the front, along with JT Tammy, who's actually gotten up ahead of one of the Uyons. Can't tell which one, but I'm guessing probably
Troy.
Yeah. Yeah, at least Jerry, he managed to. I think he just got caught up in a bit of Constantino effect, and now he's, he got a little bit of a whack, and then everyone else just sort of splayed out behind him. So he'll stay steady though. He'll know how to push the 963. Certainly, as a lot of the tires for the other cars start to kind of wear down. I think that's where the Porsche is going to kind of come alive, and he'll be able to extend that out with the rest of the stint. If he manages to stay on top of his fuel, that should come back to his advantage, and he might be able to have a shot at punching up towards Goncalves and Angelidis towards the end.
Yeah, you saw in the background that Johnny Gutierrez was the Cadillac that we saw spun out on the first lap there. He's right behind Hubert van Gashoven, trying to get into the gas oven here, but Hubert defending well at the present moment as they go into Arujo Radion. Risky place to pass, he might be better. Oh, it's a lot of cross cutting for the Acura there, and that could give an opportunity to Johnny Gutierrez, although for some reason Van Gashoven has the lights on full blast there as we see him fending off. And then there's a second battle going on just behind, this is Stephen Weiss, Mike Weiss, Mike Weiss. I don't know what W stands for, but the two Toyotas fighting away with Gilles Lalonde for company, who's at the very back of the pro hypercar field. But meanwhile, while this has been going on, Axel Laflamme has gotten back ahead of Micah Luvink and has set the fastest lap of the race, and is hovering at just 8/10 behind Tom Lane here. So Lane under a little bit of pressure from Laflamme, who we saw was very keen to start the race before it started, and just about avoided any kind of jump start penalty, I believe, and is now trying to get the Valkyrie right in tow behind the 499P here. So Lane may have to do some defensive driving here if he wants to hold on to the lead in these early minutes of the race. And here comes some GD3 traffic too.
Yeah, that's the 36th place William Snowden, who has just come out of the pits. He must have gotten whacked and had to get some damage repair. Fortunately, it didn't spend too much time in there, so he might be able to come back towards the end of the race and pick up the pieces. But they might catch him as they head down to Eau Rouge. Hopefully he's able to kind of sprint away from them, but I don't think that's going to be the case, and this is going to be a bit of an issue. This is going to shake things up.
Yeah, historically, not a good idea to bet on a GD3 to out-drag a hypercar. It's a kind of losing fight before it's even begun then. Although, Snowden just about gets out of Lane's way there, so the problem was he can't really back out in the middle of Eau Rouge there, because there isn't really a nice little parking space. But we're going to see a replay, I believe, of something to do with Will Snowden. It's either what we just saw. Oh no, this is Luvink losing second position to Laflamme just a lap or two ago. So side by side down the Kemmel Street, you can see the 87 Valkyrie passing the 95 Valkyrie. 57, not 87, sorry. So Laflamme judging his move well, having the momentum to put it off, and Luvink deciding to live to fight another day and just keep his eyes peeled on the top two in front of him. Gilout, by the way, about 3 seconds behind Luvink, and Gilout is starting to fall back in that Genesis into the clutches of Angelidis. So this is how we lost Stuart Barge on the first lap. The 86 there on the inside. Well, he was watching out. He decided to drive into Will Snowden to avoid him and end up going backwards and having a massive flip. Oh dear, they put elastic bands on the suspension instead of metal, apparently. That explains that. But it's a horrible bad luck for both of them. And it's really put Will Snowden with at a bit of a disadvantage. But here comes Laflamme. Rossi's all over the back of Tom Lane, who really appears to be struggling now.
Well, I don't know if he's struggling as much as Laflamme is absolutely on fire. His namesake, he's actually down in the 201s as of the last lap. It'll be a little bit slower now since he had to back out just a little bit trying to make that pass attempt. But he's definitely putting some heat down. When he passed his teammate Kevin Mika going down the back straight there, it was almost identical to how he was passed on the first lap after he kind of got slowed up. And I mean, he's just chasing down. I'm just amazed at how low Tom Lane is running that car. It's already heavy with fuel, but it's just it's like he's trying to hit 88 miles an hour and take off and go back to the future.
Yeah, certainly pulling his sparks, but that shows exactly how he got the car into pole position, doesn't it? With that low ride height then. But of course that could be why he's having so much trouble, as you say, in these early couple of laps, as Laflamme is all over him like a cheap suit at the moment, and Lane is going to have to continue to defend to keep Laflamme, I believe, is he a Belgian driver if memory serves. So it might be his local race. Laflamme does sound a bit like a Belgian name, so that's sort of what I'm going on memory, and the vague Belgianness. Is Belgianness a word? I don't know. But anyway, Laflamme, whatever his nationality, he's giving Tom Lane a very hard time here, and Luvink, Laflamme's teammate, is backing him up very, very nicely and running very steadily. So I think there's a replay of what we already saw. So they're both avoiding the Acura, and Snowden gets pinched into the wall also by the McLaren, so it wasn't just barging him out of the way there.
Yeah, that was Stephen Miller taking evasive action. I think he just saw that the Acura of Chauveau across the track at the last minute. Definitely not expecting him there. It's a really difficult spot for visibility because you're really looking towards the outside. As LaFlamme is starting to put some real pressure on right now. He's sneaking around the outside. I don't know if he's going to be able to pull it. That's going to be a tough pass. He's going to have to tuck back in. But yeah, exactly like you're saying, his teammate's right there, and that's going to be able to give Kevin back in the background there a little bit more. He started to close that gap down just a touch, so the interval is now about 1.5 seconds as they pass through the source. Down in the corner, we're taking a look back in the back of the field as some of the other hypercar drivers are making their way through GT3 traffic.
Yeah, I think that was Troy Ewan and JT Tammy fighting over the fourth in class as we cut back to the lead fight then. Our top three still tight together. Galout has been sort of matching the lap times of the leaders again, so getting things back under control here, which is very important for him. But yeah, this is... Oh, dear! Oh, no, Lane is around! Sorry, I had my head in the timing screen, and Tom Lane and LaFlamme have come together then, so Luving takes the lead.
Yeah, that was definitely... he's...
Waiting for him to come back, I think.
I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah, he was redressing the situation. What a loss, though. That's going to put his teammate Luving right back up to the front, though. So now it's going to be between him and the Genesis, Cap and Golat, who are very fast drivers on their own. I don't know if they had quite the same pace as those two at the front. I mean, just the way that LaFlamme was really pushing. Now we'll take a look here. I think it's going to be that replay.
So yeah, LaFlamme is quite a way back here, isn't he?
Yeah, but he had a full head of steam, and he peeks out.
Oh, Lane's already committed to the corner, and he knows immediately that he's tapped him around there, and that it's basically LaFlamme getting a bit too eager late on the brakes there.
Yeah, yep, exactly like you said. He's he waited in very close with Paul Berrez coming through in that Toyota, but now he's got all those positions. This is unfortunately looking a little bit like Imola after he got fed right back into the field early on in the race. Unfortunately, this one was more of his own doing. Just trying to get a little bit too aggressive early on. He could have waited. I think that would have been more to his advantage, but it is what it is.
Oh, here we go. LaFlamme up the inside of Ryan Paul-Berrez, and LaFlamme absolutely a man on a mission to make up ground here. That's him retaking P7. You can see Tom Lane in between Michael Luck and Timon Suvic right in front of LaFlamme now as well. So it is basically battle rejoined, and our two previous leaders now will have to fight through the pack to get back into the podium positions. It also means Angelidis is now on the overall podium, being third overall, and that really is going to improve his mood even further for the group driver, having dominated the AM hypercar class so far today. So we see a replay, I think, of LaFlamme's move that we just saw. This is Bice then, I think, hitting the other Bice.
Mike.
Mike just crashes into the back very late on the brakes, gets sort of sucked in at Lecom there, and it's not ended well for either of those Acuras.
No, I couldn't. The Toyotas.
Toyotas, sorry.
no, but they have changed their face.
Yeah, both Japanese cars.
But I couldn't tell if as Mike got spun around, or one of the
was it Mike that hit Stephen? Oh.
Steven, yes. When he came around, if he managed to tap into that Cadillac that was going through there, I couldn't tell if it was Gutierrez or Bond.
Also, I think Luvink. Here we go. This is him lapping some of the GT3 traffic through Eau Rouge and Radion. Oh, he's come across the McLaren. Oh, that was a split-second decision. You see Galout has an even bigger one in the background, so they both lose time there. So luckily, Luvink's having to take evasive action, exceeded, if anything, by Kevin Galout having to do pretty much the same thing to more dramatic effect behind. So here we go. Boorman is getting out of the way there for LaFlamme, who I think has had another issue to drop down to P9 briefly.
Yeah, it's a real shame to see Boorman kind of that far back in the back as we cut over here to Troy Uyan chasing down Father John. But like Ben Boorman, I know that he likes the stiffer cars, he likes the faster ones. I don't think he's had near enough time to be able to really do the sort of setup and practice work that he typically can when he gets into some of these quicker cars. I know he's certainly capable. He should be up there fighting within the top 5 or 6 for sure. But unfortunately, he didn't get. I don't think he was in there for qualifying, which has put him well back, and I think he's just sort of making his way through and just trying to get some time behind the wheels. We watch Troy. I think he got a little bit delayed early on because I know that he was up there. These two drivers are.
Yeah, Tammy was in between them earlier, wasn't he? It seems like there's something going on because Paulus has made a very loud cat noise in my ear. Luvink, by the way, 6/10 now behind Kevin Galout.
Stephen Miller? Oh, he's in the thick of it.
Yeah, so there's
Yes,
Lane.
he's-
Lane
Oh.
kidding Miller, and then that is
no.
how Laflamme lost a few positions. My goodness, that's just messy all around by everybody there. I have to say, Russ.
Yeah, you'd have to see kind of from Laflamme's perspective, but I think that was awfully risky, like you're saying, right in front of everyone, and not very many places to go, unfortunately. But yeah, that was a mess.
The other thing that happened just before we saw that replay is that Galout has stolen the lead from Luvink then. So the Genesis is in the lead then. So chapter inverse, the Genesis is delivering at the moment, and Luvink is still about 6/10 behind as they're about 5 seconds ahead of Angelidis, who's leading that train. So this is Lane and Timon Suvik having a little battle here. And did Lane get up the inside, or did they come together with the back marker? Oh dear, Suvik hitting the back of the Ferrari 296, and Lane having to take to the gravel. As there goes Suvik, luckily got on the brakes before rejoining in front of all the other hypercars. So yeah, Suvik has dropped to 9th in class as a result. But yeah, it's getting very, very messy. The hypercars all coming upon all the GT3s at the same time, and they don't know what to do really, as we see our leaders now lapping the GT3 Pro leaders.
Yeah, it's a shame we didn't get to see the updated liveries for Suvik and Dahlgren. As Galat manages to get through, that's going to unfortunately delay with that Porsche there. The Aston Martin of Mika Luvink, but not too terribly much as he manages to get his way through. But now it's up to Kevin to be able to hold on and just keep pacing well. I'm very impressed. George Angelidis in the background there. He has not lost too much time to these up at the front. Who both Kevin and Mika have shown that they have really good pace, but obviously, credit to George, who's been able to put some good laps down and navigate traffic the way he has. He's still in the picture in the overall voting, like I said.
Yep, nearly 20 seconds out of bikes is Angelidis. What's also happening at the moment is Laflamme, I think, just made a double move on two drivers. I think it was Alan Smith and Ryan Paul, but Ray's who's dropped to 10th or 9th in class at least. So yeah, Ray's having a bit of an awful lap at the moment as we see more blue flags in effect for our leaders. So this is how Galout got through. So I think it was again traffic playing its part. So Luvink held up by the Mercedes, and taking to the grass is Kevin Galout. So bold stuff there, but he was able to get through unimpeded.
Yeah, that was one of the drivers who works for us over at Storm Game Simulation, Brian Van Puseckum, who's been able to come back in and do some work with that AMG. Unfortunately, doesn't have any teammates this year. He ran a 3-man team in 2025 that did quite well. And he's just getting in there, getting some good laps in. So good to see as we have some more traffic. That's Dan Kirby, who's leading the GT3s. As Luvink is showing that he is not ready to let that lead escape him. He's trying to close back in. That gap now down to about a second. As he come up on the source.
Here we go. This is Ben Borman. I think something's happened to him. Oh dear, and you can see coming into Stavolo. Oh, Borman just hits the back of Laflamme, gets sideways, takes to the grass. Luckily, could have been a lot worse for Ben Borman there, but he just came charging in like a bull in the china shop as we go out, I think cutting the top of Radion there.
That was pretty sad. They're going to have to be careful. We're not even 30 minutes into this race yet. We're just barely 20 minutes in, and they've been cruising quite a bit over the top of that ridge. They've got to be careful because, like I said before, you do not want to get a drive-through because that time loss is just astounding, and it will ruin your race almost as bad as we've seen some of these incidents so far.
So apparently Jerry Chen is right with Matthew Ice, I believe, at the moment. There goes Paul. Praises me rather than corrects me, which is a good sign. So Jerry Chen really trying to get into second in the Hypercar AM class, but the GT3 leaders, again, that's the two Uyans, isn't it? It's John and Troy locking the way here.
Yeah, this is definitely going to help Jerry, although I don't know how much, because once he gets there, there's not... Oh, he gets in the back of him. Gives him a little bit of a kiss on the rump and just tries to move up along the way here as they head into the gauche.
Oh, there we go. And looks like, is that John Uyan? John was not the most cooperative there with the Trash Panda Racing Toyota, was he? But luckily, Gary Chen also gets through before Fanny Chicane, and the battle will continue as it was. I believe the way to tell John and Troy apart is that John's car is a slightly brighter shade of red than Troy's. Or if I got that the wrong way around. Either way.
Well, I think it's because he's got the lights on him right now from
that'd be why.
trailing sun.
Oh, Galout pits from the lead in the Genesis. So that is a very early stop.
It should be about right. We actually, it's amazing that we've had about 20 minutes, but it is a little bit early. If he was able to hold on, I mean, he must be running in the absolute top end of that Genesis, burning up a ton of fuel trying to get it going. But you definitely want to be able to try and hold on with your fuel management as long as you can. This is a very long track. It's over 2 minutes long per lap. So anything that you can do to extend that fuel mileage, you want to be able to do. So that's definitely going to give an advantage to Luvink as we go in through the last about 3 stints of the race, because he'll be able to extend it longer than that. Because we're looking here now, Gilles Lalonde putting pressure on Gashoven, who's up in front of him in the ARX. So classic IMSA battle between Acura and Cadillac as they come up on some of the GT3 track.
Oh, Gashoven getting Lesource very, very wrong indeed, getting sideways, and Lalonde takes to the curb almost to just avoid him there. So messy moment for both of our American Le Mans cars, essentially. We also saw, along with Galout, Ryan Pulbert Reyes coming into the pits, and this looks like a long stop as we see either side of the Mercedes go Gashoven and Lalonde. Fantastic fight this, but the Craven Racing Acura is really under threat from Lalonde's Cadillac here, but Lalonde does not quite have the top end to get past the Acura here.
Now, one thing as we were looking is a lot more pressure. Oh, we'll go back to the replay here. Hold that thought. Looks like George Angelidis might have had a moment. Our leader in Hypercar AM, cuts a little bit too much off the top as they come over the hill. You can see some of the other
that's Lane and Locke fighting over P3 at the moment, because of course Galout, having pit, has come out in P20 overall in the order.
Lane putting some pressure on. He's desperate to get back in front, and Michael Locke is definitely no slouch. I mean, he knows how to put that car around. He might not have quite the same pace.
Oh, Locke sliding, and he's coming into the pits. And he's Luvink in as well. There we go, from what was the lead. So it'll be critical to see if Luvink can come out ahead of Kevin Galout or not, as Galout is stuck behind Ryan Pulbert. Reyes, I think, had a much shorter stop than him. So Luvink should be able to come out in the lead here, or in the net lead, inferior, though Lane has taken the actual lead then as he goes by Luvink. He goes into the endurance part of the pit lane. We also see Suvic, Laflamme, Angelidis, Dahlgren, Locke, and Borman all being serviced at the same time then.
And just before I was so rudely interrupted by incredible action, I was going to make mention about the pit road exit. This is going to be one of those situations where drivers really have to pay attention, because they're not used to cars coming out about right there. Typically, you're going to be exiting right at the source, one of the slowest parts, if not the slowest part of the track, where you can kind of avoid some of those cars on the inside. You're pushed to the outside. Now you're at the very top of Radeon, and you're carrying a full head of steam, and you're going to have cars that are coming along that pit exit. So you really got to pay attention if you're any of those other cars, those drivers coming along the outside, because you might not have that runoff all of a sudden. So they've got to really pay attention, not cut over as they're coming out of the pit road and merging back onto the main line. And then if you're on the road, just don't mess up, because if you go wide, that'll be a very nasty surprise for anyone coming out.
Of course, this means Lane leads in Hypercar Pro, and in Hypercar M, Vinicius Goncalves, we saw a lot of support for in the chat earlier. He is now leading in that class as we see, oh, this is what happened. Oh dear, this is how Genesis lost time then. So that was a bit of a clumsy move, it must be said, into the Fanny chicane.
it's really hard to tell from some of these angles, and this is kind of a characteristic of this track. You have so much speed that you can carry down into some of these braking zones that, as we saw as Laflamme had that early incident with Tom Lane, we're looking at right here coming into pit, and you think that you can send it, and you know, there's a lot of controversy over where the cars can be alongside. It's axle to axle, so front axle to rear axle. If you have that at the turn-in point, not the braking point, but the turn-in point, then the leading car has to make sure that they give room for it, and you cannot turn in. You're in that vortex of danger, so give them room. Good pass there. This is going by our leader, Daniel Kirby. This is Luvink, who's now going to be, I believe, our effective leader, as both Lane and Smith are in the pits. So this looks like we're going to have Luvink and Laflamme are going to be back on top 1-2.
Yeah, Luvink has just done a great job of mostly staying out of trouble. So it should be Angelidis actually in overall P2, despite being, of course, our leading hypercar Am, of course, in the Acura then. So we're about to see Luvink. Lane might be a bit closer than he was, but he should comfortably be a Luvink in the lead here, I suspect. And through he goes. There we go.
Yeah, you can see Lane coming out, so he'll probably be a good, I want to say 15 seconds behind once he finally clears the end of pit road and manages to get back on. Maybe
doesn't
even
look
more.
Lane incredibly doesn't have that much damage from being hit twice at least in this race so far. So that is a good sign, at least, as I think we're about to see Laflamme potentially go through now as well. Oh, his Lane got out ahead. There we go. So he's actually only about 7 seconds behind Luvink. So much, as I said, a bit closer than he was before, I think. And crucially, he's been able to sort of overcut Laflamme, Locke, and Smith, all who he was essentially fighting with, I guess. And George as well, and indeed our Genesis Gil out that had all those issues. Very long stop, and then made a huge mistake and spun around into canyon essentially.
Yeah, this started off one way where we thought it was just going to be a very close, tight-knit battle, and obviously as chaos ensued, it's really turned this thing on its head. So now we've got Luvink, who's up in front, who has the statistical advantage of being able to hold on to his resources and maybe extend that a bit more. And now he's got Lane and then his teammate Laflamme, who are behind, doing everything they can to catch back up. And I believe both of them, but not quite yet, only Laflamme and now Kevin Galat have both gone into 201s. Kevin now in that last lap. So they are pushing. They're trying to get the maximum out of these cars. So I don't know what that's going to do in terms of their resource management, but we're going to get a better idea once we pass about the halfway mark, and we can see how some of that pit strategy offset is. If we see Chen going around Tammy in the background, I believe.
Yeah, looks like it. That's Tammy in the Lexus, I think. As again, indeed, there he is, number 12. But yeah, of course, Jerry Chen having pit, I think, slightly earlier than Goncalves and a couple others, has been able to undercut them and jump ahead. So there goes Goncalves in the Valkyrie, number 48, trying to get towards the back of Jerry Chen. This is a big fight for the runners-up spot, and don't forget Bice as well is only another 2 seconds behind in his Toyota. As we cut back to Suvik, having had a few issues early on, hanging the rear out through the source to try and get past Alan Smith in the Acura here. So these two in the same class, and they've got the number 34 Porsche GT3 in the way as they go into Eau-Rouge and Radion. Over the hill they go. Oh, and Alan Smith has to get very wide, so Suvik will surely now get a great run here.
Yeah, it's going to be a drag race, but I think he's going to clear him before they get down to the end, although we'll see if he fights back, as there's the other Toyota, the teammate, the SGK team.
Yeah, just about made that one without contact with Smith there. So Smith just about avoided him, but you can see is that Magnus Dahlgren now that's really joined this fight in the number 7. So Dahlgren will. Yeah, we're hearing that Galau has also been lapping about 2 seconds out quicker than Dahlgren in front of him. And look at him going round the outside of the Porsche as Dahlgren is looking to the inside of Smith into Pouhon, but backs out at the last minute there. And it's getting very, very exciting. This all essentially for P5 and P6 here.
Yeah, I just keep holding my breath every time they come around some of those very fast sweeping corners, and they're right in with GT traffic, because the kind of red mist has come on a little bit for a few of these drivers. You can just see by the attitudes of the cars. They're just hanging them out, and now we've got Galau, who's just coming into the back of this. I'm sure he's going to catch them as they get up towards Blanchimont. He's got a full head of steam, and they're still crossing swords here. Alan Smith and Magnus Dahlgren. Dahlgren's going to probably get a good run at him coming up to the bus stop section, the chicane.
Ooh, very, very wide. Dahlgren trying to hold on to a big slide there through Blanchimont then, so the Toyota being absolutely hung out there, but Dahlgren is now really, really keen to pass Smith before Kevin Galau gets a chance to pass him, as we see yellow flags in Sector 2 behind them. And up the inside, it's John Oyen who's hit trouble there, as again Dahlgren has to back out of a move into La Source, and you can sense here that Galau sort of in a hiding to nothing mentality. He's just going to put the Genesis wherever he wants to and hope that the other driver sees him in time. That's how he was treating the GT3 traffic, wasn't it?
Yeah, you can even see that some of that has led to a little bit of that damage up on the fender. He's got a really good run. I'm sure he's going to take a peek if he can. Definitely going to offset him here. It goes for a little bit of a block.
Dahlgren's getting the tow from the Smith in front of him as well, so that's sort of negating anything that Kevin Galau can really do at this point. He's kind of stuck at the back of the train, while all the while Suvic has now got that 9-second gap to Michael Locke. He can focus on closing 206.6 for Suvic, but we know Dahlgren 205.7, and Galau is early in the race was setting 201.7s as well. He still's got the fastest lap of the race to his name. There's again Dahlgren backs out of a move into Pujon, and now he's really got Kevin Galau well and truly upon him as Smith goes wide on the exit of Pujon. Into Fanier they go, and everybody is swerving, trying to predict what the car in front will do next. This could get messy if they're not careful, and Dahlgren's rears are absolutely loose through some of these corners.
Yeah, I'm just watching that. They're wringing the necks of these cars. Each one of them looks like it's quite tightly bound just to try and get the maximum pace out of them. Kevin just slinging it a little bit. This is a really great battle right here. Just amazing car control. I just hope that they're able to keep on with that. Oh, it's going to look on the Blanchimont side. That's in the grass. Hold on to it.
Goodness. Galau is just absolutely deciding to be a bit of a mad driver today. As we see the GT3. That's the Porsche. It's Uyen with no rear wing making his way into the pit entry then. So that is gonna. It's allowed Troy Uyen through into P3, and it's going to allow JT Tammy through already. And now Brian Van Busikum is also going to sneak through and gain another position here. So Uyen falls to 9th in class behind Will Snowden.
Just checking some of the timing up here. Lane is now, for reference, is 5 seconds back behind Luvink, and about the same kind of gap between Axel Flam to Tom Lane. So our top three there split up a little bit.
Oh, here comes Galau. Sorry to cut across you, Ross, but almost tempted to go 3 wide here. Galau going for Magnus Dahlgren late on the brakes, just snips in behind the Acura there. So very well judged from our Genesis man, as he again continues to slide the rear on the exit through the exit of Lecom, and now downhill through Malmedy and towards Speaker's Corner they come. So next up is Alan Smith for Craven Racing, and Galau, of course, not the Arsenal striker, as I'm reminded. Not that I know anything about football, so that means less than nothing to me. As Paul suddenly sounds very disappointed, but I tell you who's not going to be disappointed. Galau, if he can find a way through that number 92 in front of him here, and you've got to think Smith is going to be really having to drive very tight lines to keep behind, as he's again slowing the rear out, clearly feeling a lot of pressure. And remember, we've still got a long way to go, 56 minutes here, so Smith may be better off letting Kevin through without too much of a fight here, because he's clearly a lot faster than him.
Well, they're in the same class, so I mean, he's going to do anything he can to help wear that car out, and this is really hurting Kevin. It's been great entertainment for us, but if he wants to have a shot at getting back up into that top 3, that's going to be something he has to take into consideration. Those tires are getting tortured, and I can't imagine this has been great for his fuel efficiency either. So I think that come the back half of the race, once they go through their pit cycles, this is probably going to send him back a little bit more than what he would have liked to see compared to those top 3 drivers up there. And he still has a big lock to be able to go through once he gets by Suvic. Or sorry, Alan Smith and Subic.
There we go. Another run for Galout. But meanwhile, Matthew Overton is picked from the GT3 AM lead. He's the first of our GT3 leaders to do so as Galout contemplates a move, but you can tell Smith backing him up into Dahlgren again as we see more GT3 traffic, but they come upon them down the middle of the Kemmel Straight, so it should just be a minor distraction there. You can see there Subic desperately trying to escape because he knows they're all coming for him if they can get past Smith here. And Galout again just trying to set up his exit here as Smith returns to the racing line. Oh, and gets a little tap from behind from the Genesis. Now here's an opportunity for Kevin. Decides not to risk more contact downhill into Malmedy.
It's just wild to watch. He seems to really just have advantage all over the track, but Alan Smith manages to carry just enough speed that he.
Oh, big crash in the background! Who is that? Looked like a BMW that went flying into Speaker's Corner. It's Borman, sorry, on those hard tyres that's hit the GT3 and gone absolutely flying in the background. So disaster for Ben and for a couple of GT3s caught up in that as well. We also see Riley Koenig and Troy Ewan have gone for the pits too. So that's going to promote JT Tammy to second position. But Daniel Kirby, of course, still in the overall and net lead at the moment in the GT3 class. Just look at how close again they're getting. Coming through Paul Fran, Dahlgren may be able to take advantage of this delay. For Galout, oh my goodness me, they're just going all over the show behind Smith here. And not enough room for all of them, surely, into Blanchimont.
They couldn't fit a sheet of paper between them. They were just an absolute train through there. I was really worried for Kataranakas.
Oh, Smith has cut the track, and so too has Galout. So surely that's going to allow, they've got to let Magnus through here.
I don't think, because he wasn't passed.
Yeah, well, Galout definitely will. Smith was already ahead. So there we go, into the source. They go side by side, and Galout takes a very, very wide line over the curb there, almost reluctantly, as if he's like, okay, Magnus, I'll let you through into Eau Rouge, but you're not going to stay there for long. And Smith gets a little bit of a reprieve as he gets sideways at the top of Rowdy on there. Those rears want to be absolutely shot here on these Hypercars.
Yeah, all three of these drivers have just whipped these cars now. As Galout now looks at the inside as they're heading. Nope. He's learned his lesson from before when he was trying to shove his nose up the inside, so he's backing off. As the sun comes out.
Whoa! And Galout onto the grass and into the gravel. So Kevin is going to lose even more time, but luckily keeps it out of the wall. But through goes, that must be Walter de Bruyn in the BMW.
Gets our breath.
So there's Ewan. He's still got the rear wing at this stage.
Yeah. So he's cut.
Okay. So there's a visual glitch. So, oh, you can see where the rear wing would be because the end plate's still there. He spins in the middle of No Name Corner. The 1111. Oh, it goes against the flow of traffic. Gets going again. And luckily this is before the Boorman incident. So yeah, Bowman seems to have a bit later on, and I think more further spins as he tries desperately to get back to the pits, but he's got no rear downforce and stability, so it is basically a little bit like dancing. Oh, as we keep speaking of dancing, Galout is going a bit off-piste there into the gravel as he loses the control of the rear end of the Genesis once more. So it is just turning into a real roller coaster day for Kevin, isn't it? As he tries in vain to keep De Bruyn in sight.
He had so much potential going on. He was hanging back. He was just in fourth place watching those three up at the front. You know,
was leading at one point as well. Look at the damage at the front left there. As we see Kirby, by the way, is pinned from the lead. So fascinating to see where he comes up relative to Koenig.
Yeah, and he's actually managed to extend that pretty good. 34 minutes, 32 minutes about.
So here's how the rear wing fell off of John Oyen's car. As it threw Eau Rouge and Rowdy on top of the hill, does he get loose? Yes, and he's heading straight into the wall there. Luckily, he sort of went in, actually no, very unlucky, because he went in front and then bounced backwards, essentially. Lost the rear wing.
Yeah. Very tough spot to be able to try and turn the car around. There's just so much coming up the hill you can't see, and they can't see you. And I think this is exactly what I was mentioning before with Cavan now. Really worked that car, overworked that car. It looks like he might have some damage. He's wiggling around quite a bit as he's going down the straight. Get another replay here. This might be, this is Boorman incident.
So Boorman is behind the BMW.
Looks like.
De Bruyn, yes. De Bruyn, it's the slow. and Borman just caught exactly at the downhill point and loses the rear wing too. So Borman has had to make another stop and has come out 13th overall towards near the back of, as we see, more adventures or misadventures for Kevin Galau. But we did see actually on this lap a bit of movement ahead. I think is that Dahlgren that's cleared Alan Smith for P6 in class there. As again, Galau looks like he's about to fly off track every corner.
So just another replay. Looks like Paul Reyes.
22 just completely cuts the track and doesn't look like slowing down. Came into the equation as all four wheels lift the ground.
Or staying landed on the track.
And he hits the wall as well and pinballs off it for good measure. So, yeah, maybe a little bit of caution would have been advised there, and he might have lost less time. Bice, by the way, Matthew Bice has DNF from 4th position in the AM Hypercar class, so that's a huge shame for him, as we're starting to see attrition affect the orders go out. Catching back up to De Bruyne and indeed Smith and Dahlgren ahead of them.
Ooh. Oh yeah, this has turned into a train, so we've got a good bottleneck here between all 4 of these drivers from Dahlgren back through Galau. They're going to come up around Lasource if they have that traffic in front of them. It looks like Dan Kirby, leader of the GT. Actually, no, I take that back. Voice is now up in front of Kirby. I'm wondering if some of the pit cycles may have done that.
I'm not sure Hallam Voice is pitted yet in the Mercedes. He's going very long in this stint as we see our 6th place battle just raging on. And here comes De Bruyne closing in on the back of Smith. Smith pulls the outside and blocks the path of Kevin Galaut. And it's 2 rows of 2 wide into Lecom. Somebody's got to give Smith his back through into P6 then. Just enough room. No, there's not enough room for Galaut. So Galaut, again, it's a no room for Kevin. A Kevin situation here. Back up the inside goes Dahlgren as they go downhill into Malmedy. Oh, and he's touching Smith here. And he pushes Smith almost out of the way. Dahlgren, I think, a bit unhappy that Smith decided to go for that move there and lose him a bit of time.
Yeah, it looked like it was all fair play, though. They mostly, it was just a bit of a kiss and a touch, nothing too untoward. Nobody really taking advantage much of either situation. So this has really benefited Woodward Brune, who's been able to kind of stay right in with all those cars without having to take too much out of his own. This is that battle that we were watching in the replay down the bottom right-hand corner. So he got, just a little bit too much spun up on the wheels as he went over the curb. And that unfortunately didn't do any more damage than that. He's already had a very close meeting with that barrier over from the previous lap, so.
There is Jerry Chen, who is now, Angelidis is now 4th overall, sorry. Jerry Chen is a good, 30 seconds down the road then, although Jerry Chen's still doing pretty well to pull a bit of a gap to Goncalves of about just over 12 seconds, I think, as he's holding Borman at bay right behind Gutierrez as well. But yeah, Angelidis, by keeping his nose clean, is now only about 11 seconds off of Laflamme on the final step of the podium, and he's keeping Michael Locke very convincingly at bay here.
Yeah, just holding those drivers in check. I mean, he's doing what he needs to in order to run a clean race. I don't think George is going to make any unwarranted moves at this point, at least I would sure hope not. But he's got a banner race going for him, after having several unsuccessful attempts early on in the season when he's shown that he's had a really strong car, just one thing or another kind of knocking him against a really good finishing position that he otherwise really should have had. But he's got a stellar race right now. I mean, if he plays his cards right and he manages his fuel strategy, he may even still end up in podium overall, as well as taking the AM lead or win. So good, props to George on being able to pull it out on this one, as we got a yellow in sector 1.
Could that be drivers coming out the pits, because we see Voice Vasilis is in trouble apparently, is what we're hearing. But it looks like Hallam Voice has pit from the lead. He was 20 seconds ahead of Kirby, of course, and him and Holden, Alan Holden, of course, in the Lamborghini pitting at the same time. Looks like Ryan Pulpit Reyes is back in the pits as well, as here is our leader, Luvink. He's been matching the times, actually only slightly slower, 2:04.1s for both Luvink and Tom Lane that last lap around. So the gap staying steady at about just under 5 seconds at the moment, with Laflamme, I think, catching both of them and about a second per lap quicker, and only about 3.8 seconds down the road then. So Laflamme could still be in the frame to fight Tom Lane for P2, the way things are playing out here as we cut to Kirby. Still a good 4 seconds. He pit a lot later than Koenig, so he might have the better tyres in this situation with Dan Kirby.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I mean, Kirby is able to manage that car so well. This is a really good track for the 992. So we're taking a look at Matthew Overton leading the way ahead of Daryl Kruger by an astounding lead. That's going to be pit stop cycling for sure at 71.5 seconds. You can see Alan Holden in the foreground there. You know, props to him.
Giant Holden. By that angle. Yeah. Look, that Lamborghini's going to swallow me whole. It's like that movie of it's a little bit like that first ever cinema movie of the train pulling into the station with everybody led, but replace the train with Alan Holden's Lamborghini.
Yeah, but props to him though, holding on to the only Lamborghini in the field. He was running 296 for the longest time, and he's switched to one of the other Ferrari manufacturers, and he's promoted to the best.
Yeah, we are got confirmation there. It looks like Luvink and Lane both having better laps, so Laflamme only catching 2/10 on Lane that previous lap, but Luvink about 2/10 slower than Tom Lane as well. So it is kind of nip and tuck between our top three. Risky lapping attempt there through Stabilo, but the 111 pulls well clear. Galant, by the way, has made another pit stop, but here's Stephen Bice getting into an incident. Oh, the Acura loses control, and Bice has nowhere to go. So that must be how we lost Stephen Bice, or had him have an issue earlier. Paulbert Reyes is out of the race as well, by the way. In case we didn't mention that, so that's another Toyota car.
Halfway through, the chaos is
in comes, that must be Axel Laflamme in the 57, isn't it? So Laflamme decides to be the first to pit. Oh, Luvink as well. So both of the teammates decide in the Valkyries decide to cover off anything from Tom Lane here. So that should prevent any undercut attempt in these final 44 minutes.
No, but I think Tom's got a good strategy going on. Just judging from where he was with his first run through, the sparks coming off is just ridiculous. But he's managed to get the fuel pretty well on that. The Ferrari was pretty decent overall, but you know, certainly you could push it too much, just being that all-wheel drive formula. But I think he's got a pretty good shot. I imagine he might even be able to take one more lap around. I am surprised a little bit to see that Luvink was coming in now. I feel like if he were able to secure some of his fuel strategy, he might have been able to have another lap on him, but it's really hard to say. Maybe just between traffic and what he had to do, it's just sort of cost him enough that he couldn't quite eke it out. We'll have to see here, as everyone, it looks like, has come in, besides the top three at this point. For
Luvink has come in. He was the leader. So it's Smith and Lane, again, like we saw in the previous stint, staying out the extra lap compared to everybody else then. We also see Chen Angelidis pitting a lap early, which again gives Vinicius Goncalves the AM lead, at least temporarily. But we'll have to see how that filters out then. So it doesn't look like there's any sign of rain to the end of the race now, so it should be a dry race. You can see the skies cleared up a bit. It definitely looks a lot sunnier than it did during the opening laps then. So through now goes Dan Kirby and Riley Koenig. Both about 5 seconds apart. You can see the Hypercars are pitting will come out right behind Dan Kirby, so they should be able to breeze their way back through quite quickly.
Yeah, it looks like Angelidis, and Chen is actually very close to him right now. That's almost a little bit shocking. I'm not sure how Chen was able to close that much. That's unless George was taking tires. I'm guessing tires.
Here we go. Chen actually is he being lapped and overtaken there by is that Borman getting through in the other class, sir. So yeah, Borman is fighting him generally for position, but yeah, getting to P12 overall, and that's about P10 in class for Borman.
They got Alan Smith now coming up behind both of them. I believe that's going to be.
He's not pit yet, yep.
Yeah. I was going to say, I thought he might have been up a lap ahead of these two.
So but they're stretching out another lap, so instead of going every 1 lap long, him and Lane are both going 2 laps longer, essentially, because of the lap they saved before.
So that's Riley there. Is that the the last of the CMS pros. Yeah, Riley Coney. So he's up there trying to stay out of their way. But so Jerry Chen kind of rolling the dice on this. So George also rolling the dice, taking tires. I know that, like I mentioned earlier on the broadcast, he uses the snot out of those front tires. So it's probable that he just wanted to try and keep the pace. So this is kind of the Jerry Chen master play of being able to take advantage of sort of that supple nature of the 963 and not take tires, see what he can do by staying on old tires. And it's probably going to come down to potentially fuel advantage. And looking at it, he's got those hards up the front. I guess I didn't catch that previously. So the only other driver who's using hards, Ben Borman's got hards all around. And so Gary Chen
mixed set at the moment. That might be explained why Chen has got a bit closer. Maybe he's only changed half the tires.
I think you're exactly right. Yeah, he just did the front axle to just try and hold on. Looks like we've got a yellow in sector 2, so that's going to be later down past the cone.
Oh, on the far right. Ooh.
So he's just coming out of the pits. I thought maybe he'd miss the exit there of Radion, but it's one of the Bice brothers up just in front. So that's, I believe that.
So I think it's a 50-second pit stop for Angelidis and 23-second.8 for Jerry Chen. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's full tire. Full tire
exactly.
for Angelidis.
And Borman in between had a 30-second stop, so I think Borman had a very standard, just normal stop. So that would explain what happened there. As we see Angelidis now trying to pull away. Lane finally pits, so we should be seeing Alan Smith following before too long as well in his Acura. And that, in theory, should hand the lead back to Luving. Luving was about 49 seconds down on Lane before he pit here. So Lane will have to put a couple laps less fuel in. So he could be a threat here. I think LaFlamme may not be as close to Lane as he was before the pit stops here. So let's see where he emerges in. There is Tom Lane.
That's gonna, yeah, he'll be back right away. He hasn't even started moving yet.
Oh, there's a longer stop, so he's changing tyres. He's sacrificing potential track position as there goes. Is that Smith exiting the pit lane? That can't be because Lane is still ahead of him. So I think they've gone Goncalves' pit now as well from the Hypercar AM lead, and there is Lane exiting. So he is definitely in third at the moment. Locke is only about 2 seconds behind him now. So Michael Locke could be a bit of a threat to Tom Lane. In fact, he's gone through just 3 tenths ahead of him then, down the straight then. So this has cost Tom Lane 2 track positions. 3.
Yeah,
through goes Suvic.
That look good. Yeah, Lane's definitely lost quite a bit. Now we're under 40 minutes, so they theoretically should only have one more stop to go after this, and then they can make it to the end. It might be very close for a few of them, just depending on where they've had to come in. They might have
unless Lane and Smith are trying to go to the end from here, and that's why they were trying to pull those 2 extra laps.
At 2x fuel, I don't know how they'd be able to do it. They're going to have to go in at between 20 and maybe 24 minutes, depending on how you play traffic and fuel management. But that's going to be an awful challenge for them to try and pull off. And especially at this longer track, you want to be able to get enough fuel to do an extra lap, just depending on where the leaders are.
It's either that or they're trying to get a tie delta so they can breeze through in the stint, having picked a bit later. So could be worth the gamble as I'm being shown more information and pit stop times and the like then. So yeah, there we go. Most of the field that didn't change tyres doing 24, 25, 26 second stops. Those that did change tyres, including Tom Lane, 51 second stop for him.
Yeah, and just a quick reminder for anyone watching, the tires and fuel are not concurrent. So in this series, if you want to take on tires, you have to wait until the fuel goes in, and then you can switch. You can serve one axle or the other or both, and so you can, as we saw with Jerry Chen, maybe save a little bit of time and just do one, but that can always be a gamble just depending on which one you change, what you do. It can really upset the balance of the car, so drivers really need to know what they're doing.
Is this Smith? Oh, being hit by the Toyota. Big spin there. Is that... Oh, please tell me that's not Tom Lane, is it? It's a purple...
Michael Locke.
Oh, it's Michael Locke in the Ferrari. Oh, then in goes... that must be Smith in the black, red and blue car, isn't it? The Acura.
I missed which one. I thought it was a Toyota. One of the Bice brothers, maybe. I couldn't see which one those.
It was definitely an Acura, as we see all Luving lapping the McLaren there. Just about gets out of the way, so no harm done. That must be either Darrell Kruger or Stephen Miller, who's had his fair share of adventures today, of misadventures, I should
Both.
say. Yeah, still going Miller in P3 in the AM class in GT3, well, albeit 107 seconds down on Overton in the lead, who, as you rightly mentioned earlier, doing an absolutely sublime job. But yeah, definitely the lead battles in our top 3 classes of Hypercar Pro and Am and GT3 Pro yet to be decided, because only about 5 seconds or 10 seconds in the case of Hypercar separating them all. Because it looks like Angeli's pulling away as a bit of a change of positions there. Is that Lane passing Timon Suvic? So Lane has made very quick work thanks to Michael Locke and Smith coming together there.
Yeah, that's. I'll be curious to see how Lane manages to put those. I have to look back at the timing screen. If he did take tires,
He did, yeah. It was a 50-second stop, I think, is what we were saying.
that we'll see how that plays out at the end. Because if those deltas shrink rapidly towards the end, he might be able to close that.
And
That
there's
was a
that crash
hard hit.
again. So there's Suvic going through, and there's Lane. So yeah, 2 positions. They both lost their 2 positions at least there. And Mike Bice is the other car. There we go. So it's Bice and. Well, there we go, Paul. Well, you're muted on stream. We can't hear you. There we go. Another Cadillac being lapped there by Luvink, who's been caught actually by Laflamme, who's making his way through the traffic slightly more efficiently here and losing less time in the process. Last lap, 205.4 for Luvink, 204.9 for Laflamme, 202.4 for Lane. So Lane has definitely got fresh tyres and is cutting into that 19-second gap that Laflamme has over him then. So this could be really, really interesting. This next stint pivotal to see which of these 3 is going to end up winning this one, because I think it's basically they are the 3 that are duking it out for victory at the moment.
Chen. Now he's about 11 seconds behind.
Well, he's
so,
dropped
yeah,
from 5 seconds to 11 seconds, so that's not good news for Jerry, actually.
No, and like I said, we've seen George do a pretty good job with his pacing early on. Obviously, just kind of showing off. I'm sure he was trying to do his best to save on fuel. He doesn't always have a great fuel strategy. I would say probably within some of his usual strategies, but. He does think about it, even if he can't always drive to a specific number that he probably should. He pushes it. I'd say that Jerry Chen probably has a bit more of the racecraft to be able to perform there, but right now he can't quite pull off that closing rate. But we'll see what it does when they come in and they have to do their final stop for fuel. I mean, that might be the determining factor.
Yeah, could well be then. We've still got 33 minutes left to go on the clock here, and Mike Luvink on lap 28, of course, leading this one about 5 seconds ahead of his teammate Laflamme, and then 23 seconds down the lead and closing actually to just 22 seconds is Tom Lane then, who has certainly really found the speed on the fresh tyres exactly when he needs it here. Whether it's going to be enough to get him back into contention for victory remains to be seen. Luvink and Laflamme will have to keep matching each other's lap times. Essentially, you're sort of seeing a race that will close up as this stint goes on then, as we get towards the final pit stop phase, essentially, as you rightly say, Ross. So, is Luvink going to be panicking too much, or does he think Lane has got way too much ground to make up at this point?
It's really hard to say. I mean, over 30 minutes left in the race, and I'm sure we'll probably see something happen where they come right to the line. They still
2 seconds a lap that Tom is gaining here.
Oh, and a hit there. That's Angelidis having a bit of an issue there, I think.
What's that? Is that better? Couldn't really see.
He was lapping or being lapped, and that's lost him not that much time, actually. Still 11 seconds to Jerry Chen. So here we go.
See. Yeah,
so there's it looks a lot like Smith, doesn't it?
Oh,
Smith
traffic.
lapping him from the outside. Oh, and then he hits. He's just
Oh.
sent on a collision course with the Peugeot. Oh, dear. So Smith actually lost a lot more in all of that.
Yeah, they just had a big traffic jam up in front of them that I think Angelidis is. He's kind of infamous for carrying a lot more speed into the braking zone and doing hard braking and just kind of turning off the corner. And I think that that just kind of caught him out. He wasn't able to slow down. So unfortunate they had that kind of coming together. I don't think that George meant to do that, but it happened.
That's dropped Smith to 10th in class, by the way. So that's allowed Ben Borman, luckily for him, back through there, despite Ben Borman qualifying for the Olympic high jump. So yeah, Borman will be at least a little bit pleased to see a bit of luck going his way. Still only about a second and a half behind Walter de Bruyn, fighting back as we see. Oh, is that a little bit of a fight going on? I think that might have been is that Magnus Dahlgren passing Michael Lock, I think, is what's happened. And Luvink, by the way, has actually lost the lead to Laflamme. Just 2 seconds between them now, so Laflamme's starting to disappear up the road, so I think Luvink has hit trouble zone.
I think you're right. There's quite a bit going on. We might be able to catch a replay of that. If we're taking a look at Michael Locke, who's got severe damage on the front of that car. I'm sure that was from when he and Vice got together through Sector 2 there. Take a look here. I believe this is what we were just talking about before.
Luvink coming into Blanchimont. Oh, and he's got a Porsche 911 to the outside. Oh, they tangle,
no.
And they're both sent into a huge hit there. For that wasn't the class leader, was it? That looks like
no. Troy Uyan.
It's Troy's the other Uyan.
I think in the 24. Or it's
huge
the 34.
damage for both of those cars. Yeah, the 34. That would be Troy who's gone into the pits then. So that's promotes JT Tammy to P3. Only 2 Porsche 911s of Kirby and Koenig have stayed out of trouble. Both the Oyens have massive crashes, and that's lost them a chance at the podium. Well, Lane, in theory, now has got a lot less damage than Luvink, so that will help his charge. 209.9 with that incident for Luvink. 203.0 for Lane, fastest of our basically our hypercars at the moment. Apart from Goncalves, who's in the 203.4s.
Luvink, so yeah, almost a 2 minute 10 on that last lap. We'll see what he does once they cross the line here. I'm sure a lot of that was due to some of the entanglement from before, but I mean, that's yeah, that's going to make a huge difference. I mean, Tom has a little bit scuffing going on from his earlier interactions. I don't think it's going to be too much to pull down his top speed, but I think those new tires are going to make a world of difference as they go through. Axel Flam, he's managing to keep that gap coming down too much, but it is coming down. I mean, we're at about 14 seconds or so between the two, and just under half an hour left in the race. That's where it's going to be. Can he get that crossover? I mean, we've seen Tom Lane do quite a bit with the different strategies on previous races. His run at Sebring when he was going with, I believe it was Oliver Day, one of the other ones, the other Ferraris that were out there. It came down to the last lap, and it was just a magnificent play on strategy and just like pure driver gumption to try and get that pass done. And it was a huge finish at the end. So we'll see what they can do. Great to see 2 manufacturers going against each other, taking advantage and disadvantage of one another. Sparks. Can't get over it.
Yeah, speaking of Oliver Day, he's in the pits at the moment. I think he might be doing his final stop in a bid to try and get to the end. So that's putting behind Hubert van Gashoven in 17th, 18th overall, because Mike Bice has also gotten past now as well as Day is being serviced, hoping to get out ahead of Zachary Chival. But yeah, you can see there Laflamme pulling a little bit, another couple of attempts on Michael Luvink, who's at least gotten the Valkyrie back under control. But yeah, you got to wonder how many big hits all of our leaders can take here, because Luvink's had a big one, Lane has had a couple of big-ish looking ones. I think Laflamme might be the one that's ironically in display having a little bit of a chaotic start to the race with the contact with Lane. Has actually since kept it fairly clean, and that's what's put him in this position. So I think things have gotten worse for Smith, losing the back end into the last source, as you can see there, but actually gets it back on the power fairly early. And is that Jerry Chennat that's only about 2 seconds behind?
Yeah, that was a gaggle of M's just right behind. I don't know if Vinicius Goncalves was in that group. It looks like
Goncalves is about 24 seconds down on Chen. He has been closing about 2 seconds a lap, so he's doing the Tom Lane strategy. Yeah, Tom Lane is taking another 2 seconds out of Luvink. The gap now just 8 seconds. So yeah, the problem with Michael Luvink is now he's in the sort of reverse position. He was hoping Laflamme would be the first to be caught, and now it's going to be him instead. So is he going to defend to help his teammate, or at least to help himself, you would think, once Lane comes into the picture here?
Stephen Weiss now closing in on the back of Chavot, who's obviously been in a world of hurt from what we saw earlier on. Very impressed that car is still moving around for as much as he's taken hits from early on in the race, but He's holding on to 5th place currently, which will be some points for the team, and that's going to help them tremendously as they go through the season. They're actually still sitting in 1st, but only by 2 points ahead of Jerry Chen, Akira Mistral, Chen and Monet, who's unfortunately not here today, but carrying the banner anyway. They're going to want to do everything they can to maximize those points. We'll see what Stephen Weiss can do, who's admittedly probably one of the slower of the Weiss brothers, the 3 of them, but he's definitely showing a little bit of today. I should have too soon. Sorry, Stephen.
Well, he's let Jerry Chen for. Oh, and there's been another incident just in front of him. It looks like the Akira. It's against. Is that Smith in more issues?
Smith.
I think it is. It's the Akira. So yeah, there's all sorts of things going on.
Unless that was.
Oh, he's going too wide.
Oh,
that's the. Oh, is that the 92?
Yeah. Yeah,
It is Smith.
That's
Then,
Alan
yeah.
Smith.
I'm trying to remember what the Akira's look like. But yeah, Goncalves has now come in for his final pit stop. So instead of running long, Goncalves is decided to roll the dice here. So some more yellows briefly in sector 1. But this is Chivo for Meyershank trying to keep Bice at bay there. After Bice's little incident earlier. Oh no, this is Bice looking at the moment, trying to keep Smith, who is about a lap ahead of him, I think. Or are they fighting on track for the same position? No, I think Smith is a lap ahead because he's still ahead of Goncalves.
Yeah, he should be up there in the fighting out amongst the pro hypercar class, although he's much further back, although not near as far back as one of our leading hypercars from early on in the race, the Kevin Galat, who's in that Genesis and way back. He's in 11th place overall now. Still has the fastest lap of the race, but that has not helped him just because of the events that have sort of taken place. We've been following along throughout the replays. Just a shame, because he definitely had a car and pace that really could have had him up on the podium for the end of the race here today.
Yes, it's so in endurance racing, things can turn around so quickly. Even if you've got maybe the fastest car and driver combination, one mistake can completely compromise things and lead to a world of hurt and pain, essentially. So nothing is ever guaranteed until the race ends, and you do learn that the hard way, don't you, sometimes? If anything, I actually thought the modern VWSC series would be the cleaner one, but it's just as chaotic as the historics in places. So it's all a little half spin coming out of the source that almost proves my point there.
Yeah, that was one of the other Vice brothers who was coming through. I can't remember which one was driving the back there. It looks like Tom Lane. Yeah, he's down to 5 seconds. That was coasting at about, I think he's just under 10, or right around 10 to the lead. So he's definitely bringing that gap down. Now this is where Miguel Luvink is going to really have to show what he can do as a rear gunner and hold him in position. We're watching Ben Boren now. He's closed into the back of Valtteri de Bruin, who was doing pretty well. I'm wondering if some of this might be the pit cycling that's put him back there, because Ben has been struggling a bit. I didn't think that he'd be quite close enough to the back of Valtteri at this point. You can see the attitude of the car.
Yeah, so Borman pushing on to try and put De Bruin under pressure here, so we'll have to see what can happen. So in all of this, Angelidis has also sort of fallen to 8th overall, by the way, although he's still leading the AM class after the tyre change by now 17 seconds over Jerry Chen. So he's pulled out another 6 since we last checked in earlier. Yellow's in the final sector. I'm not sure what that is all about. But yeah, meanwhile, Luvink only 4.6 seconds now ahead of Tom Lane. And it's Goncalves, I think, that's hit trouble. So that's a big shame. We did see him just go into the pits as well, so maybe there's a more serious issue then, and that's going to hurt his chance of challenging Jerry Chen for P2 in the Hypercar AM class. Luckily, Mike Bice is still a little bit too far behind, about 40 seconds. So here we go. Goncalves right behind is that left flam. Oh, and just spins on his own coming out the bus stop, and now he's going against the flow of traffic here.
That's a really tough spot to be. It's one of the worst spins that you can have, because you just have to 360 around. Yeah, there's no place really you can go safely until traffic clears out. You can see that. A real shame for Gutierrez, because he's... Or I'm sorry, not Gutierrez. Gutierrez is... Yes, Goncalves, the other Gutierrez. He's typically doing pretty well. He's in 3rd place right now. I think that he probably could have a strong pace to keep up there with Jerry Chen and even George Angelidis, but unfortunately he's done himself in. Shout out to my teammate in the 81 series, by the way.
Very pleased to hear that. We used to see in the chat. Jerry Chen into the pits then, as we get a comment from Ace Devitt 2071, Axel Cooking. So definitely pleased to see Laflamme take the lead of the race, as he briefly did early on before he made contact with Tom Lane. We're interested to see if this race ends with a Laflamme Lane showdown once more, if it ends differently. But yeah, Jerry Chen then looking now with the spin for Goncalves. He knows now's a good opportunity to maybe try and undercut Angelidis and try and gain some ground back in this final stint and put him under pressure.
Yeah, and they should be coming in for their stops just about now, or if, within the next lap if they haven't already. It's coming.
It's that De Bruyn right behind Angelidis there we're seeing in the foreground. So that is the 8th place overall battle. There's Laflamme and Luvink both in again. So Lane, will he react immediately? Will he stay out a bit longer and retake the lead then? Yeah, you staying out. Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll
on his
go
strategy, he's got to go fairly long so that he can sort of have less fuel put in at the final stop. There is that Luvink or Laflamme just being released in the background there.
Yeah, so he's just coming around to the backside. Yeah, so he's
I
taking
forgot
his
his stop is all the way down there, yeah.
And that looks like Subic coming around. I think he's also just getting in to get his service.
Yeah, along with Dahlgren, Locke, and Johnny Gutierrez.
Yeah, final cycles for the hypercars now going through. I think Tom Lane will come in on this time, but he won't need a full tank, I don't believe. So he'll actually, if he plays his cards right, he should be able to maybe jump them or at least close that gap down a little bit.
Will he need to change tyres is the question.
Oh no, at this point I think you're just going to have to go with what you have to try and keep that track position above anything else. I think that play earlier on in the race where he changed his tires out and it cost him a little bit of time, that was the perfect way to do it. It's a 90-minute race, you don't need to be able to go the full length. You know, you can double stint the tires, but if you're trying to do the whole race on just one set, which it looked like it might have been the case for Laflamme and Luvink, I think that's going to hurt them in this last stint for sure. So if they don't get tires now, which is not advisable, they're just going to have to kind of nurse it and do what they can to try and maintain their pace and not cook them. And just for reference, track temperature is up to 29 degrees, so it's definitely getting warmer.
So Laflamme has come out 42 seconds behind Lane in the lead. Luvink 49 seconds behind. So Luvink is now actually 7 seconds behind his teammate. So Laflamme has actually really gained in the pits and on his outlap here once more. So Luvink, I think, nursing that damage. Lane decides to go another lap here. He really wants to run the field down as low as he can so he can have the quicker pit stop here. That's got to be one of his best chances, surely.
Yeah, this is going to be huge for him. I mean, he'll come back around.
Luvink out! Oh dear, so Michael Luvink has had either a disconnection or he's had a huge accident.
Hopefully we can get that. That'd be, it's a shame either way, but that's
yeah, he was
for his
leading this
debut
race for
race
so long as well. So now potentially this puts Timon Subic in a position to challenge for P3 once Smith has to make his final stop. We're hearing disconnection for Luvink, so it was here 1 minute, gone the next, so that is gutting for Micah because yeah, other than that contact with the GD3, he was having a very, very good race and was potentially still just about in the mix to challenge for victory. So he will have to lick his wounds and come back for Le Mans in a few weeks' time now.
Yeah, that's extremely frustrating. I mean, you at least
especially
if it's
with
something of
17
your
minutes to
own
go as well.
Yeah, it's all that time and dedication that you put into it, all that hard fighting the entire way, and then it's just something completely out of your hands. It's just, like you said, gutting.
Oh, Lane, I think, is in trouble from what we're hearing because he has lost a bit of time and there was a yellow flag previously, so maybe he tripped up over one of the GD3s. Yeah, the gap's gone from 24 seconds to 20 seconds over Laflamme, so all of a sudden, Laflamme is looking in a really good position here.
Would have thought maybe it would have been coming around for the pit stop. We're hearing that it might have just been an unforced error, maybe.
So fatigue's starting to creep in, I think, especially for the hypercar runners. Into Speaker's corner. Oh, wow, that's a very low speed spin. It's like it suddenly stopped on him.
That was, oh boy, that was highly unusual.
I don't really expect that. Could be a bit of lag coming in there, potentially. Of course.
Yeah, I think you're right. That is an easy corner to kind of mess up there. You're almost off camber as you're coming in, and of course as you push out, you're trying to get back on throttle, and it's very slippery. It's uneven surface with the curb. As we see Michael Locke going over that same patch of track, so it's very easy to undo. But if he has fresher tires, I can't imagine that would have done it as much. But it's very easy to just lose a little bit of focus, just get a little bit of wheel slip introduced, and then goes right around. So that's an absolute shame, because he had built up such a great strategy, and he's coming back around again for another lap. So he's done an excellent fuel strategy. This would be an absolute shame to have that lose out because of that incident. He worked so hard to set himself up for the end of this race. He was in a great position, 22 seconds ahead of LaFlamme. I don't think that's going to be enough with the amount of pace that that Apex Aston Martin has been showing.
Yeah, certainly LaFlamme knows that he's going to come out with a slightly bigger gap than he was expecting, so he can maybe afford to take it a bit easy in this final stint, the rest of this final stint. But Tom Lane will certainly be pushing and taking risks to catch back up, as we see all GT3 starting to pit in the Baron, Gas Oven and Chavot also coming in for a service. It was Daniel Kirby from the overall GT3 lead, so that potentially we're going to see what Koenig does next in second on the road. Of course, with Luving being eliminated, this puts Johnny Gutierrez potentially in a position to challenge for the top 4 here in his Cadillac, which is quite the turnaround considering how badly his race started at the first corner.
Yeah, we see some flashing going around. Cadillac in real life had some incidents going through in a very similar kind of situation as he's making his way around.
Fighting for position, of course.
And they're coming around through the comb, just trying to really navigate that Cadillac to get it so that way it can stay ahead. And just pour through there. It's great shots here. Thanks, call out to our broadcast director here, Paul, who's doing a lot of work in the background, giving us notes where he can as well.
Yeah, good stuff. Tom Lane now is in, so he was able to go 3 laps longer, but no longer than that. So will this be enough to get him at least within touching distance? I think LaFlamme is going to be surely through before too long, and Smith will have to come in as well. So Timon Suvic could be about to get maybe even into the top 2 if Lane has a very long stop here. Here comes Chen in this replay against an Acura.
Chavot.
Yeah. Oh, Chavot goes long and Chen loses it. New man, it says on the side. Well, be wishing that didn't happen.
That was a very unusual spot. It looked like he might have just been caught out and had to lock on the brakes with the car loaded to one side like that.
Looks like we just lost Ben Borman from the race as well, so that's a huge shame. After his acrobatics earlier, that Ben was not able to get it to the checkered flag then. With just 12 minutes to go. So now this Gutierrez Dahlgren battle will continue. Smith is in the pits now, so it is now a battle for P4 between those two. Lane has come out about 15 seconds ahead of Timon Suvic, and here's what happened to Borman. Tried to lap the Lamborghini, spins off, and he's like a spinning top into the wall, surely.
Yeah. Yeah, that engine is dead at that point. You can see it's just there's no pickup there, so that he's going around Alan Holden, who had actually just been passed by one of the Uyans, I think Troy Uyan, for position. So I believe that was he'd fallen back. He's kind of been having a miserable race, unfortunately, but Ben could have made it even more miserable. Unfortunately, took himself out in the process right here as we're at the 12-minute mark.
Looks like Dahlgren has passed Gutierrez, by the way, for P4. So Magnus Dahlgren definitely getting into a better position than in these closing stages. He goes 14 seconds between himself and Suvic, and that's how much they lost when they were stuck behind Smith early doors, isn't it? It's created this sort of situation for poor Magnus here, where he's got some decent pace, but he can't really use it to maybe challenge for the podium here. As we see Clark being serviced in the pit lane. Dean Clark falls to 7th in the Hypercar AM order then.
Yeah, and just checking some of the Discord notes here, Micah Lumink, who's definitely very frustrated by that situation. Really hate to see that, because it was coming on to be a really great opening race for him, and that just heart goes out to him. Just it's something that you never want to see as a sim racer. You just hate that.
Yeah, it's not really within anybody's control, as you say. So there's nothing really much that can be done, but certainly a lot of positives today for Michael Levink, and we will certainly see him again before too long. He's far from the only driver that's had issues today, but that makes him and Borman makes it our fourth for a time at those. Gutierrez getting a little bit sideways there as he makes contact with one of the other hypercars there. Or it's another Acura.
I think that might be Alan's teammate. It's hard to see from this far back, but it looked like there was some debris on the track. That might have been a pretty good whack.
Yeah, it was either Day or Gas 7, I think.
I think you're right.
So there we go then. That gives Dahlgren a bit of breathing space, as we see more yellows in the first sector. So not sure what's Oliver Day that has hit a little bit of trouble there at the very near the back of those hypercar pros still running. Of course, all of this attrition has put Kevin Galal back into the top 9 in class, about 11 seconds behind Alan Smith, now that Smith has made what should be his final pit stop here. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on the lap times of Lane and LaFlamme, but I think Tom Lane knows it's going to be a bit uphill here. He lost a good 8 seconds at least with his spin, maybe even a full 10. So he'll know without that he potentially would have been in a much stronger position here relative to Axel LaFlamme. So, but if it was lag that caused it, yeah, Oliver Day apparently has just pulled off the road, is what we're hearing in the background. So maybe some technical issue or something that's blue screen. He has got it going again, so no blue screen of death just yet for Day Sakura.
Watching on the timing charts, it looks like Chavot is going to swords against Stephen Bice back there in the Hypercar AM class. That's for 4th position. So he's closed up to the back of them, and as I was following to see what was happening with
there they are,
Alves and Chen. Yep. So this is 4th position, battle for 4th.
Chabot to the outside, tries to go the long way round into Fanier. Can he get to the inside before Bice gets there? They're still side by side. Bice almost in the gravel there. And again, it'll have to be the long way round for Chabot. And Chabot finds it blocked off. And again, through Stavilo and into Paul Fred, just about keeping it on the track there. So Zachary Chabot taking a lot of risks. He cuts to the inside on the long run through Blanchimont. And he will have to go full around the outside. And that's exactly what he does. Stephen Bice falls now to P6 in class. P5 in class.
Great fight. Yeah, they gave each other plenty of room. I mean, they're actually quite spaced apart. So really great to see that, putting on a great battle without having to come to doors and take some damage off each other like we've seen some of these other fights. But that's going to put them down. That's going to help out the George Angelise's Meyershank Racing Acura team and keep them further up in points ahead of Ikiri Mistral and especially the Trash Pandas, who right now they're positioned to actually move into that 2nd place in the teams, although it's not over yet. We'll see how this is going to keep going.
A slow exit for Chabot, but really all over the place was Stephen Bice then, as he's right behind him for Odragon and Ken cutting the track as well. So they can't afford to do that too many times because Bice and Chabot may find themselves running out of track limits to use up here.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised we haven't seen anybody catch a penalty yet for as much as they've gone over. They might have been able to back off just enough to avoid the ire of the stewards, but it's with 7 minutes to go. It's still very close to the end. You don't want to risk it. it's just too much to be added to the time.
Speaking of time, 12.5 seconds or so is the gap between LaFlamme and Lane. Lane's last at 203.8. So LaFlamme was in the 205s, has now dipped into the very high 204s to respond. It actually was a slow lap from Lane, so the gap stays pretty much as it was, 204.9 for the both of them. So you've got to think now, LaFlamme knows he can afford to lose about 1.5 seconds per lap, and still he'll be able to cross the line. Oh, Suvik is out from P3. So, my goodness, the attrition is really ramping up. Magnus Dahlgren will get on the podium after all.
wondering if that was another disconnect. I didn't see anything pop up as far as local yellows, but I was looked away.
Yeah,
We're
also
looking
JT
at-
Tammy in the pits now, in the Lexus, so he's making his final stop. Very big splash and dash here. Just a handful of minutes to go. And he might not be the only one.
That's,
Yeah, it is another disconnect then, so my goodness.
That's, again, just a shame to see that going through these races. Kirby actually is a little bit under pressure here between teammate Riley Koenig.
Yeah, Koenig has been sort of keeping him very, very honest indeed throughout the race. The gap's never been more than about 6 seconds, has it? And you can tell here, Koenig really has got the bit between his teeth. And we saw the 34 in a little bit of trouble earlier, didn't we? Just escaping some of the hypercars trying to lap it. So yeah, Koenig is certainly, neither Kirby or Koenig have things completely their own way in this one, but Kirby knows he's just got to get it home without making a mistake here. So it's really who cracks under the pressure that's going to decide the victory here.
Big yellow out in sector 1 there. Hopefully nothing more than just a bit of a spin. Shout out to Hallam Voice, who's has having
It's
his
Galau,
race.
apparently, they had an issue there. Sorry to interrupt you, but your praise of Hallam Voice, perhaps he deserves it, and Galau has decided to call it quits there.
Another one of the early front runners that we had. We're just following along with Matthew Overton right now, who has a somewhat comfortable lead.
Oh dear.
Daryl Kruger.
Oh, we're hearing quite a few have dropped out then. So Galau, we've just been saying Galaut's DNF, Paul. Haven't you been listening? Well, we both said it now. Do we need to say it again? Now, try to show you what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. There's the Genesis. Whoa! I'm flipping over the curb.
Oh,
that was quite dramatic.
A forced DNF for sure. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's one of the major incidents of this race. Third car we've seen go airborne like that, and that's the worst place to do it. There's so much speed through there. It's exactly what we were talking about. If you've used up your car throughout the race, that's exactly what you can expect going up over Rouge to Radion.
I felt like more like somebody ejecting the cartridge on the Sega Genesis than the Genesis GMR. But there we go. That is really not the way that Kevin Galau wanted to end his race at all, really. So it's just been a bit of a nightmare day for him that it's turned into. But luckily, only 4 minutes left to go then. So I mean, he's done about 90% distance. Not that it really matters because he's not going to finish in the top 10 at this rate. So because Gas 7 is going to get through on the day you think is still going as well, going to inherit that position from Suvic then. So it really is now about keeping it out of trouble. I think Tom Lane has sort of, I don't want to say given up, but he's just sort of decided to consolidate second position rather than going for broke to challenge for the lead here. So yeah, we'll have to see whether, I think it's really Kirby versus Koenig that is the closest fight that we've got to look forward to on track at the moment. Although Johnny Gutierrez is still about just under 4 seconds behind Dahlgren, might be able to regroup and challenge for the podium here. So we're going to see a replay of something else that sounds painful. Matthew buys him more trouble here, Ross.
Yeah, hopefully no GT3.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh dear,
Koenig
that wasn't.
kind of
I think that was Koenig that he was lapping there.
Yeah, he just kind of gave a little bit of a twitch there, and I think that just sort of started Bice enough that he took to the grass. Hate to see that.
Just unfortunate for both parties, really, because I don't think Koenig really, he's trying to get out of the way in time. It's difficult because there's such a speed differential that you're sort of having to judge it before it happens. But at the same time, Riley Koenig doesn't want to lose any time at all to Kirby in this lead fight.
Yeah, it's again, that kind of goes back to what we've seen a lot throughout this race, particularly between the two classes of cars, where it's that closing speed. You're just coming through different parts, and there are a lot of areas where there are longer crossover sections, just like that run down through the last bit of that second sector. And you just have to really have your wits about you and try and predict, try to understand what the cars are doing, and just have a lot of caution, because we've seen that happen so many times now throughout just this race alone.
So it was Troy Ewan, by the way, that was we saw in that incident. It wasn't actually Riley Koenig. So apologies there. They're all, I don't want to say they all look the same because that sounds vaguely like car racist, but but they functionally They've got very similar numbers, incredibly similar liveries, and it's identical cars. So to tell the four of them apart is a bit, from a distance, is a little bit of a mind-boggling job, at least for me anyway. So, but anyway, Koenig did gain about half a second on the Kirby that previous lap. So taking the risks, it's paying off so far, but I don't think he's catching. Well, he's not really got enough time to mount a challenge yet, unless Kirby gets seriously held up by the GT3 in front of him. He's like, just like the Mustang.
Yeah. Yeah, which Kateranakis, it's unfortunate that we haven't seen him up there fighting a bit more after the Mustang kind of got a little bit of a buff. When we were
So
talking
last
about
driver
that.
still going in the race, this is, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's sticking to it. You know, everyone here is getting ready for the for Le Mans as we're closing in. We're just under a minute left. We'll have to see where the leader is. Axel Laflamme. Ooh, it looks like.
It does look like Timon Suvic has got going again as Laflamme laps the McLaren on the entry to Eau Rouge there. Just about avoids disaster. Oh, but gets heavy on the brakes. Oh my goodness, Laflamme has come to a dead halt at the top of Radion. Can he get it going again before Tom Lane appears on the scene? Lane closing by the moment here. And what heartbreak this could be on the very last lap of the race with just 20 seconds left to go. Here comes Lane. Laflamme is stranded.
What? I don't even know what happened there. I mean, it looked like he was coming close to that GT3. I think that was Kruger, but it didn't appear he hit anything. He just stopped.
Some sort of technical issue where like maybe the desktop notification came up, took him out of the game, and he went immediately on the brakes there. So that could have been. Dahlgren has got through as well, and it does sound like, unfortunately, Riley Koenig has lost a load of time to Kirby as well. So maybe he's had an issue. Big hit actually for Kirby, so Kirby could be in real jeopardy here. Riley Koenig, not Kirby, sorry, 2 Ks. But there we go. Here is Riley Koenig going wide at Blanchiment. Oh, he loses it, and he hits the outside wall. And then, about 18 different forces trying to react on the car there. So about 30 360s, and he backs it into the upper wall as well for good measure. Just about keeps the rear wing though. So Koenig will try and coast it home before JT Tammy appears on the scene. But Laflamme, has he got going again? No, I think he's still stranded at the top of Radion, so he's going to finish no better than a P5 or P4 here, because Michael Locker right behind him. I think he has got going again, sorry. But Lane here is going to inherit victory in a crazy finishes. There's a heap of GT3s here that are blocking the way, but he's about 13 seconds clear of Dahlgren. So Lane, we thought his chances of victory were over, as there is Laflamme still going. Oh my goodness, the GT3s are all fighting ahead of him here, and you got to just thread the needle here. As oh my goodness, the Cadillac pushes the Porsche off track. The 2 Mercedes, that's Snowden in the middle of this one.
Oh, he's around.
Oh dear.
He's around. I can see the one.
So Koenig is around. He's going to finish no better than P2, but our winner in the Hypercar Pro Class will be Tom Lane. A bit of fortune, but he nonetheless drove superbly today. Magnus Dahlgren is going to take P2 out of nowhere in the title. We didn't think Dahlgren was going to finish on the podium, and Gutierrez, who was round on the first lap, is going to round out the podium. What a feel-good story that is, but heartbreak for Axel Laflamme. He's going to come through now in P4, as here comes George Angelidis, who's going to take a very convincing win, 47 seconds ahead of Jerry Chen. Brilliant stuff from the group driver.
6th overall, actually, he's just ahead of Valtteri Brun, who's in the hypercar behind. As we watch Dan Kirby come around, and he's going to finish off a commanding lead, 30 seconds ahead of teammate Riley Koenig.
Yeah, there we go. Those mistakes from Koenig really making it a little bit more straightforward for Kirby. Kirby started to negotiate an awful lot of carnage, as you can see. Overton as well has won the GT3 AM class there, and nearly gets a hit in the back from the McLaren there for good measure there. But Overton was easily the class of the AMs in GT3 today, I think, finishing quite a way ahead of Kruger. I think a whole lap ahead of Kruger. So yeah, there we go. Temper's really fraying at the end of that. I don't think anybody expected the race to finish as it did. But yeah, drama everywhere you look across.
And that was always going to be a dramatic race, but I wouldn't have predicted that it was going to be a sudden change on the last lap for very odd reasons. It's got to be a technical thing for Laflamme, who clearly, if he had the pace early on, he was in a great position to do well by the end. And he was right there even after trouble early on. And just for for whatever reason. Hopefully we'll find out in chat maybe what went on. But yeah, just wild.
Yeah, not quite sure how to react, but let us go through the final results then. As you can see, after 44 laps, Tom Lane victorious in the 499P. And yeah, Lane, of course, got pole position. You might think this is the lights the flag victory, but that does not tell the full story in his epic battle against Laflamme. And of course, Michael Luvink as well. Magnus Dahlgren taking second position in the number 7 Toyota. Really, Magnus in a great fight against Johnny Gutierrez in the final part of that race. And it was Dahlgren that came out victorious. Gutierrez recovering from a terrible first lap to really steam through the field with a brilliant strategy call from the Cadillac. That gets him onto the podium. Laflamme, though, the Valkyrie so close to victory, but a mysterious issue brought into a dead halt at the top of Radion on the last lap with just 28 seconds left to go. And that is going to be just no words to describe the heartbreak there for the team Apex. But Michael Locke will take P5 for the British Turkish Racing Squad. Walter de Bruin will take P6 for Rookie Monsters. Alan Smith was a bit up and down, tried to do something clever on the strategy, will come home with P7. Gilles Lalonde gets his Cadillac home in P8. Hubert van Gashoven, staying mainly out of trouble, gets the Craven Racing Acura down home in 9th. And Oliver Day will round out the top 10 in his Acura, having been a little bit off the pace. Timon Suvic was disconnected, but was able to keep going and get 41 laps on the board in P11, so he will be classified, but sadly not getting to the end. Kevin Galout, who was so quick, did take the fastest lap, but had all sorts of misadventures. Ben Borman nearly went into space at one point, and sadly, that oddly wasn't the incident that got him retired. It was a later crash, if I'm not mistaken. Michael Luvink disconnected while running second on the road. It could well have been his victory today as well. And Ryan Paulbert Reyes, I think, had issue in the middle of the race, was our first hypercar to retire.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of what we were seeing there at the end, a lot of the chaos with the disconnects and other technical issues were kind of spread wide. Many drivers complaining about some issues. Ryan Paulbert Reyes actually sent a video of his steering wheel breaking. So one of the dials on there, I couldn't tell quite which one it was.
Yeah, we kind of need to go through the... Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Shut up, Ross. Shut up! Right. George Angelidis wins from Jerry Chen. Vincius Goncalves rounding out the podium from Stephen Bice, Zachary Trevaux, Mike Bice, Dean Clark, and Matthew Bice. All who finished, oddly enough. Daniel Kirby takes a great victory under the pressure from his CMS Pro teammate Riley Koenig, who had a big incident that completely destroyed the car near the end. Koenig still came home in P2 from JT Tammy, who rounded out the podium. Hallam Voice was 4th. William Snowden had to pit right in the first lap, but still got home in 5th with some clean driving. Brian Van Busekom was P6, so the trio of Mercedes from 4th to 6th. Troy Oyen, with a big incident for him, he is P7. Alan Holden is P8 in the Lamborghini, and John Oyen had the trickiest race of all, finishing 8th and last. Matthew Overton, of course, our dominant winner, a lap ahead of Darrell Kruger in the McLaren. Then Stephen Miller, Vasilis Katarinakis in the Mustang, and Stuart Barge. Sadly, we lost right before the end of the first lap, so it was a very, very short race for Barge, but his teammate was absolutely sublime. So there we go. That is all your results there. Ross, you may finish your thought while we wait for the interviews. Apologies for shouting at you quite forcefully.
No, it's it's still more reports coming in about different disconnects or other technical issues going on. Just unbelievable, and it just threw so many spanners right into the mix of things all the way through. It seemed like things were going to be just typical duking out from the first stint on, and then by about the halfway point, we just saw everything really change shape. It was amazing.
We've got here we go then. So our GT3 Pro AM winner has just joined us in the form of Matthew Overton. Matthew, apologies, we didn't actually see a whole lot of you in the race. We just cut you every now and again just to confirm that you were still in the AM lead, but you were very, very dominant today. Congratulations. How do you feel?
Well, thank you very much. Thoroughly surprised. I've struggled in practice all week with the car, trying to get it, especially through Eau Rouge and Radion, and found it during the wet practice, actually, and just applied that to the dry, and it just worked a treat. I can't complain.
Yeah, I think you even beat Alan Holden and John Owen in the overall order, so 28th overall. Considering you weren't expecting to be that strong, that is quite the turnaround.
The Ferrari has taken a while to get onto it. I think Spa just played well to its strengths. Obviously, the Porsche is just owns this track, but I was able to get the Ferrari in the right place. I'm just sorry, my teammate Stu Barge there had issues. He hasn't explained to me yet what happened, but yeah. So it was it's a great victory, but tinged with a little bit of disappointment because he wasn't able to finish the race.
I can tell you that Barge was trying to avoid a hypercar, and unfortunately, he turned into Will Snowden in avoidance. So it was a little bit messy. So it was a very short race for Stewart, sadly. But he did do a very dramatic flip. I made a comment about his suspension being made of rubber bands, so that should tell you something. But anyway, Ross, any questions for our GT3 AM winner before we let him go?
No, other than what are you going to be doing for Le Mans? Are you guys teaming up and taking it on, or you have any others that you're bringing in for that one?
Right now, it's just the two of us. So he and I are going to have to work on a great setup for that, and just get the practice laps in so that we hand off to each other a car that we can take to the finish. Hopefully, do this again.
Well done.
Absolutely, I echo that completely. Thank you very much for talking to us, Matthew. And the Overton window is truly open, and it is Matthew that has fallen right
I was
into
waiting
it.
for someone to say that.
There we go. I was trying to get an Overton pit window gag in there, but you were so far ahead that nobody was in the Overton pit window apart from you. So there we go. But anyway, thanks very much for talking to us, and yeah, best of luck for Le Mans in a few weeks' time.
Thank you.
So, shall we move on to who shall we have next, Paul? Shall we go for our GT3 Pro winner, if he's still around, Dan Kirby?
Yeah, we can grab him.
There we go. Daniel Kirby joins us now, having taken victory in the GT3 Pro class. So, Dan, it was a very close battle for most of the race between you and your teammate Riley Koenig, until Riley had I think a big accident while trying to close in on you in the final stages. So a tense finish, but you really soaked up the pressure well. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was definitely a difficult race. The hypercar guys, a lot of these new guys, I don't know, they need some lessons.
There we go. I think there might be a couple of us in the GT3 class that might echo that sentiment, and the hypercars have probably got some not particularly nice things to say about GT3s as well. But anyway, was there any threat from behind? Were you at all worried about Koenig in the closing stages, or did you think that you had him covered and then that he would have to take a huge risk to get close enough to challenge you?
No, I was struggling on my tires a little bit, but I wasn't too worried about it. I think I had a decent enough gap. I could kind of just bring it home the last, like, I don't know what that was, 5 laps or something. And then, yeah, he was pushing pretty hard, and then I guess made a mistake and had to do the last couple laps with like 90-degree offset steering or something.
It's a good thing you both had that gap to Tammy then. But yeah, either way, congratulations. Ross, is there anything you want to say to Mr. Daniel Kirby before we let him go?
No, just congratulations. Look forward to seeing you guys at Le Mans. I assume that everyone's going to be doubled up with their partner as usual.
I think Riley's not going to make Le Mans, which is why they kind of like decided to fold the hypercar team, and Troy's just going to join us, and then Riley's kind of just in and out whenever.
I got you.
There we go. That's confirmation on that, which is nice to have then. But anyway, Daniel, a great race today. Hope you enjoy your victory, and best of luck for the rest of the season and, of course, Le Mans in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, and that's all the GT3s done. And we are now joined by a very, very popular man, a man who won the Hypercar AM race by a good 30 seconds, I think, in the end, over Jerry Chen, after really being the class of the Hypercar AM field, and was running on the overall podium for a big chunk of the race as well. It's George Angelidis. Hello, George. That looked like a very comfortable win in the end. You really just had a lot of fun out there. I think you were not far behind Michael Lock at the finish.
No, yeah, it's it was nice to know that with a bit of practice and setup work, I am there. Yeah. So it's like we did a lot of work with Zach, my teammate, yesterday. So about 4 hours of practice and setup work, and we are there. At the end, I could have been up there, P4. I don't think I could have got Magnus, but I think if I was pushing Micah and Johnny were fair game. But it was at that point, I already had intrications with Hypercar pros, defending aggressively when the pace was completely different when I was getting through the field because they didn't change tires and I changed tires. And I said, like, you know what, getting 2 more cars is not giving you points. So just put it on cruise at the end and then got the win here. But yeah, I'm super happy with it. Very, very happy.
Indeed, that was definitely the case. Ross, any questions for George after another victorious drive in the AM class?
What livery are you running for Le Mans?
I don't know. I knew you were gonna ask something like that. I don't know. We have to talk with Zach about what we're gonna do, and if we're gonna do a throwback or if we're gonna put like an amalgamation of the 93, 60 liveries or something among the years. Yeah, we have to figure it out. We're having a couple of other guys from the 93 crew joining in as engineering support. You know, like Ali, the performance guy, is gonna be coming in and helping us out. So I'm super excited about the upcoming race. It should be a lot of fun. Just give the Acura like kind of a final hooray. But yeah, it's good. Again, thanks to Zach for all the help yesterday. He ran into issues, I think, at the beginning of the race. But we're looking for that one too. It's close. It's gonna happen. I'm sure it's gonna happen at some point. But it's just we're gonna try it next time.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to you putting those words into action then, George. You've done a fairly good job of doing that over the past couple of years. So, yeah, best of luck for the rest of the season and at Circuit de la Surf in 2 weeks' time. Thanks for talking to us, George.
Thank you. But not the top step yet. Good job, but not the top step.
All right. Well, one step at a time then.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. All right.
So as we let George Angelidis leave, we've only got one driver left to talk to in terms of our winners, and that is our overall winner, Mr. Tom Lane, who joins us now. Sorry to catch you off guard there, Tom. That's been kind of the theme of the day, hasn't it? Well, so up and down. You take pole position, a collision with Axel Laflamme at Lecom early in the race, and then a huge fight back after getting caught in the sort of pack and a couple more avoiding collisions, essentially. And then a spin that costs you time. It looks like Laflamme has got things under control. And then on the very last lap of the race, he comes to a dead halt at the stop of Radion. We thought we might be talking to Laflamme at the end of this, but in the end, it's you that, I don't want to say inherits victory because you still fought very, very hard to be in that position to take advantage. But yeah, just so up and down today, Tom. You must be completely frazzled.
Yeah, that was a very, very odd race. I really shouldn't have won that. That spin with about 15 minutes to go was a black screen, and my wheel just completely froze up.
Yeah, I thought it lagged. It looked very strange on stream.
Yeah.
Because it looked like you were stopping and then had a very slow spin.
Yeah. And then after that, my controls locked up, so I didn't get anywhere near the amount of fuel I needed. So I was running the whole last stint in safety car, and just very, very slowly. I really have no idea what's going on. Loads of people have had moments like that.
Were you born under a lucky star, Tom?
Well, only until the last lap.
It may not seem that way earlier in the race, but wow, yeah, just there's so much to talk about in there that I almost don't really know what to say. Ross, any questions for our surprise winner?
It was kind of out there just in terms of what was going on, but yeah, congratulations. And yeah, you're still planning on running Le Mans?
Yeah, definitely. Alone again.
Alone again. You're not going to find somebody, maybe maybe a heavy hitter, just bring from the outside?
No, I like it. I like doing a long race. Just lock in for 5 hours.
That's fair enough.
I've enjoyed them. Other ones I've done so
Sounds
far.
like Ross is trying to put you into speed dating here, Tom. I think
It just makes it fun, you know.
might be to conclude this interview then before Ross makes any more offers to Tom. I was like, oh, don't you want to hire this driver? Anyway, but yeah, thank you very much for talking to us, Tom.
Yeah, cheers,
Like
guys.
you said, maybe a bit of luck in the win, but you absolutely had to push to be there, and you put in a great show for us as well. So thank you for entertaining us, and congratulations on victory.
Yeah. Thanks for putting on the show, guys.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right, there we go. So as our last winner exits the interview room, we come to the end of the broadcast, Russ, and a very exciting fourth round in Spa. But I think all of your questions are about Le Mans, which really shows that everyone's focus is shifting to the 4.8 hours, aren't they?
Yeah, well, certainly at this point, I mean, it's not long before we turn around and we actually have that race. It's not far away, and it's the one that everybody thinks about just throughout the season. There are a lot of points on hand to take or to potentially lose. When drivers are teamed up, they share those points in their drivers' championship, and it goes towards whatever their team championship is that they're in, if they are in a team's championship. So it's kind of like a high risk, high reward situation. So you got to go into it prepared. You can't just like roll out of bed and just hop in there. Or at least most of us can't. Maybe some of the aliens can, but it's something to think about. And obviously, it's a longer race. We'll have a lot of entertainment going on as we get to it. And yeah, just look forward to it and what other things that Storm Gang Stimulation has to be able to put in just before we get there.
Indeed. Yes, definitely tune into all the other Storm Gang Simulation and the CMS racing events as well. So once more, congratulations to Tom Lane, George Angelidis, Dan Kirby, and Matthew Overton, our 4 class winners today here at the 90 Minutes of Spa. I've been Edward Hunter. He's been Ross Smith, and we've been joined, of course, in broadcast direction by the wonderful Paul Glover. That's all from us at JP Broadcasting. Make sure you tune into the next of our broadcasts a bit later on. I guess we're doing more tomorrow, I guess. But yeah, you never know. We might be accommodating on you on the track someday soon. So stay sharp. Thank you very much for watching, and good night.